Chapter 1254. KG and Crooked Neck were watching from behind. Lin Shay stood there and said to Chen Hui, "These are the company's legal advisors, and the Commercial Crime Investigation Department is here to arrest you. What else do you have to say?" When Chen Hui saw the person in the police uniform, he felt even more guilty. He quickly looked at Crooked Neck and KG and said, "KG, you can't do this to me. We've been classmates for so many years and fought together for so many years." KG still wanted to say something, but Lin Shay turned around and said, "KG, you fought together for so many years, and he can still betray you. What else are you thinking? Things like this will happen again in the future. Are you going to keep forgiving others? He won't be grateful to you. Not only will he not, but the benefits you've given him have become his capital. In the future, when he has the power, he will take revenge on you because you've seen his ugliest side. You will always be his enemy, understand?" KG stood there and looked at Chen Hui. Chen Hui was still wagging his tail pitifully, but KG gritted his teeth and turned away. Lin Shay said, "Chen Hui, you betrayed us. You must know that this is the punishment you deserve. Everyone should take responsibility for their own actions. You're not young anymore. You should know that your choice has brought you to this day." Chen Hui looked at her, his face contorted. He seemed to be suppressing his anger for a long time before he looked at Lin Shay and said, Just you wait. Lin Shay, don't put it in such a nice way. Aren't you just worried about the money and don't want to give it to me? Humph, you put it in such a dignified manner, but you're still looking for an excuse not to give me the money. Humph, it doesn't matter. I want to see how long you can be so arrogant. Do you think the Goof family is easy to mess with? That's the Goof family we're talking about. Even you, Lin Shay, can't do anything to them. Humph. Chen Hui was even more resentful now. He didn't feel any regret at all. All he felt was hatred. He would only be happy when Xue Mingqi ruined the game. Chen Hui looked at Lin Shay. "I'll wait for the day you're ruined." Lin Shay snorted. "Why? Is the Goof family very scary?" "Haha, what do you think?" Chen Hui said as he glared at Lin Shay and walked out. Lin Shay crossed his arms and looked at him. Behind them, the Commercial Crime Investigation Department brought them out. He crooked his neck and said, "Seriously, this is too disgusting. He even wants to curse us. He doesn't feel that he did anything wrong at all." Lin Shay said, "It doesn't matter. No matter what you do, he will hate you. So it's better to not give him a chance in the future." Crooked Neck looked at Lin Shay in admiration. "Sis Shay, you're really amazing. All right, don't look at me sucking up to you. Really, right now, I'm your fanboy." Lin Shay rolled his eyes and said. Chen Hui was in the Commercial Crime Investigation Department. While he was being investigated, he quickly called Xue Mingqi and said, "I'm telling you, if you don't come and save me, I'll expose you." Naturally, they knew that it was impossible for them not to fish him out. After all, he was an important witness in an important period of time. At this time, if they allowed him to bite back and expose everything, wouldn't their previous plan be exposed? After Chen Hui was fished out, he immediately said to the people who came, "You have to compensate me. Now that they're not giving me money, you have to compensate me. You'd better stop while you're ahead. We're keeping each other in check, but you have to understand how powerful the Goof family is. If we don't want this game, then we don't want it. At most, we'll fight to the death. It's impossible for you to get anything from me." With that, she proudly picked up her high heels and got into the car. Chen Hui was furious. But thinking about it, he didn't dare to go against the Goof family. After all, the Goof family was different from KG and the rest. He decided that he had to find Lin Shay. She was just a small-time artist. She didn't have that much confidence. Hence, he came to Kaixing City in the afternoon. Crooked Neck looked at Chen Hui and said, "How dare you come?" Chen Hui said, "I want to see Lin Shay. Do you think you can see Sister Shay whenever you want? Come on, I can see the Goof family whenever I want now." But Lin Shay was indeed in the office. Hence, she quickly walked over when she heard the noise. "What else do you want?" Chen Hui glared at Crooked Neck and said to Lin Shay, "I can testify that the Goof family plagiarized your game. I can also prove that they deliberately stole trade secrets and competed maliciously." Crooked Neck said from behind, How can you be so kind? Lin Che smiled faintly. Just tell me what you want. Crooked Neck suddenly understood. Io, you're here to make a request? Chun Hui said, if I don't help you now, you won't be able to win against the Goof family. When that happens, you can forget about making a game. Give me 10 million and I'll testify for you immediately. Crooked Neck heard and immediately shouted, why don't you rob a bank? 10 million, you're talking big. Lin Che snorted. 10 million? No, Chun Hui said disdainfully. Seriously, why are you making a game when you're so poor? What are you going to use to fight against the Goof family? I told you before that the Goof family is generous and has the demeanor of a big family. Look at you, you're so stingy. Sigh. He said, to be honest, if I hadn't seen it for myself, I would have thought that this company was already very big. But you really haven't seen the generosity of a big company. Look at how the Goof family does things. They won't even give you 10 million. What are you going to use to fight against them? Humph. Lin Che said, money has to be spent on design and investment. We're willing to spend as much as we want, but to spend it on people like you. I'm sorry, I won't let you take a single cent, you. Chun Hui snorted. Fine, you said it. Let's see if you can still be so stubborn when the time comes. Watching Chun Hui leave, Crooked Neck said, what do we do now, Sister Che? I told you, the Goof family isn't that scary. Believe me. Yes, whatever you say, Sister Che. Soon, Gu Jingzi came to pick her up. Lin Che said, that Shuiming Chi is really persistent. Gu Jingzi said, what's wrong? Lin Che told him what happened. Gu Jingzi said, oh, that guy is called Chun Hui? Yeah, he keeps saying how scary the Goof family is. I want to know how much he knows about the Goof family. Gu Jingzi said, that's right. Lin Che looked at him. How are you today? Did Chen Yuqing's recovery method work? Not yet. Lin Che stroked his hair. It's okay. Take it slow. But a guy called Black Hawk went over today, he said. Lin Che said, oh, that brother of mine. You used to hate him so much. Is that so? Why should I hate your family? Because he's just a little annoying. What did he say? He said he's coming to visit in the afternoon. He also said he invited Mu Firen for you. Chapter 1255. He Ying tried his best to ask someone to pretend to be Lin Che and invite Mu Firen over. Mu Firen knew that Lin Che had been busy recently, so she didn't tell Lin Che anything. Lin Che invited her, and she agreed. She thought it would be good to see Gu Jingzi and see how he was doing. Mu Firen arrived at the Gu mansion in the afternoon. She was familiar with the place, and the servants were very polite to her. Knowing that she was Madam's guest, they all served her very carefully. Mu Firen seldom came here because there were many rules and it was not easy to receive guests. However, the servants here remembered everyone. Lin Che said, you're really here. What happened between you and He Ying? Mu Firen was stunned, and then she understood. Did He Ying do it? Yes. Mu Firen smiled self-mockingly and looked at him. So, Yin Yin's father is him. Lin Che suddenly understood. So, she already knew about it. Lin Che sighed. It was not his place to meddle in this kind of thing. It was a relationship between two people, and they had to solve it by themselves. Lin Che said, I don't know what He Ying was like in the past, but I think his feelings for you are real now. Mu Firen snorted. He's your brother. I don't want to listen to you. Okay, he's my brother. I can't say anything about him. At this moment, He Ying came. When he came in, the servants didn't dare to talk to him because he always barged in. When Gu Jingzi was still alive, he had instructed them to leave him alone for the sake that he was Madam's biological brother. He Ying said, Sister, I'm here to see you. Lin Che chuckled. Are you here to see me? Really? Of course. I haven't seen you for a few days, and I miss you very much. Hee. Then you can leave after you're done looking. He Ying walked over. No way. Lin Che thought. You're still pretending. Mu Firen was about to leave when she saw He Ying coming. He Ying walked over hurriedly. Firen, what are you doing? Mu Firen said, You're so childish. How can you pretend to be Lin Che? Black Hawk said, It doesn't matter if they're childish or not, as long as they're useful. That's how the business world works. Do you think the people in the business world are childish? But it is useful. Mu Firen snorted. He Ying followed her and said, Firen, since you're here, sit down. Look, Gu Jing's brain is not working properly, but Lin Che still stays by his side. It shows that our family has good genes. We're affectionate and loyal. Duh. Lin Che's face stiffened. This Black Eagle. Firen, I don't think he's suitable for you. You better not consider him. Upon hearing this, the Black Hawk hurriedly waited for her. Is she your biological sister? What kind of brother are you? What do you think happened to Gu Jingza? At this time, Gu Jingza had already quietly walked to Lin Che's side. I'm very satisfied that I can have you by my side, even though I'm not in the right state of mind. However, there are some people who can't win a beauty's heart, even if they're in the right state of mind. It seems like they can't compare to me, who is not in the right state of mind. Although Gu Jingza had lost his memory, he still had a sharp tongue. As expected, Black Eagle's face darkened. Before he could say anything, Gu Jingza said, "Since you're here, why don't we go out for dinner?" Hearing this, Black Eagle immediately shut his mouth and looked at Mu Firen expectantly. As long as he could have a chance to be with Mu Firen, he was willing to do anything. Not to mention being criticized by Gu Jingza, he would even be willing to be poisoned to death. Gu Jingza said, "I heard that I came back safely this time because of Mr. Mo. I should treat you to dinner to express my gratitude. Miss Mu, thank you for your trouble. Let's go together." Mu Firen looked at Gu Jingza and found it hard to refuse him. Moreover, Gu Jingza was Gu Jingza after all. She didn't dare to refuse him. In the past, she didn't have much contact with Gu Jingza, so she wasn't familiar with him. Although he was Lin Che's husband and she was Lin Che's best friend, she still wouldn't be familiar with Gu Jingza. After all, men and women shouldn't talk, and Gu Jingza wasn't a person who was easy to get close to. Moreover, it could be seen that Gu Jingza wasn't a person who liked to talk, so Lin Che had a lot of good friends. This kind of relationship was the most difficult to refuse. Although they knew each other, there was still a sense of distance between them. Mu Firen could only look at him and agree. Gu Jingza asked someone to book a restaurant, and Lin Che walked in front of him. Lin Che said, "Firen seems to be really angry. Alas, what kind of sin did she commit?" Gu Jingza said, "Don't worry. A good woman is afraid of a clingy man." Lin Che said, "Really?" Looking back at the two of them, Mu Firen was still acting awkwardly. Black Eagle stood tall and didn't look at her. He just walked quietly, as if he wanted to prove his sincerity to her with facts. Lin Che shook his head speechlessly. Black Eagle was really charming when he was serious. Soon, they found a place to sit down and eat. A waiter came to serve the menu and looked at Mu Firen. "Mu Firen? You're Mu Firen, right? Oh, you." Before he could finish his words, Black Eagle threw a cold glance at him. He was so scared that he shut his mouth immediately. Black Eagle said coldly, "Cut the crap. Give me the menu." Yes, yes, yes. If someone else had said this, the waiter might have scolded him in his heart. However, Black Eagle's eyes were so sharp that they made people feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. So he really shut his mouth. It was not that he didn't say it, but scolded him in his heart. He was so scared that he put down the menu and left immediately. After he went out, he said to the people outside, "Oh, I saw Mu Firen, but the man beside her is so scary. I don't know who he is." "Look, isn't that Lin Che opposite Mu Firen?" "It seems so. Aren't they best friends?" "Oh, I really want to go and ask for their autographs. Two movie queens. But that man is really scary." They looked over and saw Black Eagle sitting there expressionlessly. They couldn't see the face of the man opposite him. If they saw Gu Jingza's face, they would definitely be shocked. However, they could only see his back, so they felt more afraid of Black Eagle. They felt that he could kill people with one look, so they didn't dare to get close to him. Mu Firen couldn't help but roll her eyes in her heart when she saw the waiter looking at them, as if they were looking at a ghost. However, with a living Hades by her side, it was really she wasn't afraid of being harassed at all. In the past, she would definitely be surrounded by people asking for her autograph when she went out. But now people stayed far away from her and didn't even dare to look at her. She felt it was funny when she thought about it. The dignified Black Eagle was sitting here and scaring people. She turned her head sullenly and saw that Lin Che was still looking at her. She hurriedly pretended that nothing had happened and lowered her head to look at the menu. Chapter 1256. After reading the menu, Mu Firen called the waiter to order. Black Eagle stared at the waiter, and the waiter wanted to find a place to hide. He didn't dare to look at Black Eagle at all. It was the first time that Mu Firen had come to such a public place to eat. She could order dishes quietly without being asked if she was Mu Firen. However, not long after, another boss seemed to have seen Lin Che and Mu Firen. When he saw them, he immediately walked over and said with a smile, "Oh, Mu Firen, Lin Che." This was not a cheap place, and the people who came here were all rich. Looking at the Mercedes-Benz and BMWs parked outside, they knew that their annual salary was at least 10 million yuan. So when they saw Lin Che and Mu Firen, they were confident and immediately came over to greet them. Mu Firen turned back with a smile and was about to speak that Black Eagle looked over coldly again. The boss didn't see them and walked over. He said, "Oh, it's really you. I like you now. I like the role you played in Nishong. Can we take a photo together?" As he spoke, he reached out his hand. Although it was just a simple action, the Black Hawk somehow managed to twist his hand. Ouch, it hurts. Before the man could react, the pain had already made him cry out. After all, Black Eagle wasn't an ordinary person. How could an ordinary person withstand his attack? So the man fell to the ground with a howl, as if he was about to die. Mu Firen was startled and hurried over to call out, "Imo Jinyan, what are you doing?" Lin Che stood up as well. After the man got up, he cursed, "You? Where did you come from? You hit me. You actually hit me." "Look, I'm not." Black Eagle clapped his hands and snorted. He stood there, several heads taller than the man. Not to mention that aura that was different from ordinary people. The man was a little frightened. Mu Firen said hurriedly, "I'm sorry, sir." He stood up and said, "What's wrong with you? How dare you hit me?" Mu Firen said, "I'm sorry. Just pretend that he's crazy." Black Eagle said, "Who's crazy?" "He wanted to touch you." Mu Firen looked at him and said, "How did he touch me? He didn't touch me at all. Moreover, even if he did touch me, it has nothing to do with you. Why did you hit him? You are really harassing me." Black Eagle looked at her. "I'm protecting you." Mu Firen sneered. "You want to protect me now?" Black Hawk paused. "Yes." Mu Firen said, "Thank you, but I don't need your protection. It bothers me." Black Hawk said, "Even if you're annoying, I'll protect you." You. Lin Che really felt that there was something wrong with Black Hawk's EQ. How could he coax a woman like this? He was so overbearing. She hurriedly pulled Black Hawk over. All right. Black Hawk, that's enough. Come out now. You've done something wrong." She pulled the Black Eagle hard. Black Hawk was unwilling, but he was still dragged away. Outside, Lin Che looked at the Black Hawk. "Who chases people like you?" Black Hawk said, "What else?" Lin Che said, "If you wanted to coax her, you wouldn't have to be so unreasonable." Black Hawk looked at her and frowned. "I won't." He turned his head and was about to go inside. Lin Che hurriedly pulled him back. "Hey, come back here. Where are you going?" "I'm going to explain to her that this is me. Anyway, this is how I am. It's up to you whether you want to accept it or be angry. But this is how I am." Hey, it's not like that. You. Lin Che looked at Black Hawk. "How do you manage so many people? Why is your EQ so low when you're with Firen?" Black Hawk looked at her. "But this is me. I'll be like this in the future. I don't want to be so perfect now. I don't want her to find out that I'm not that person. Just like before, I was like this. I let her think that I was perfect, only to find out later that I was the one who hurt her. I don't want to be like this anymore." You. Lin Che sighed and looked at him. But she felt that what he said made sense. She could only say, "Okay, I understand." At this moment, when Lan walked in, she saw Lin Che and Black Hawk at first glance. She didn't see clearly who the man was. When she saw Lin Che at first, she thought it was Gu Jingze. However, his height and body shape were completely different. She was stunned for a moment and thought happily in her heart, what kind of man is Lin Che entangled with? Lin Che was already with Gu Jingze, but he was still so flirtatious with another man. And this man was tall and handsome. Judging from his melancholy look, he was actually a good man. No wonder Lin Che was attracted to him. But it was not okay. She was already with Gu Jingze, but she was still so close to another man. If Gu Jingze knew, he would be furious. And Lan's eyes flickered and she walked over. Lin Che. It was a coincidence that they met here. Lin Che turned around, and saw Lan. She said with a smile, "Miss and enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road." And Lan sized up the man at the side and said to Lin Che, "You guys are pulling and pulling like this. Okay, I probably shouldn't be here. I'm sorry that I saw it. But don't worry, I won't tell Gu Jingza." Lin Che was stunned. He looked at Black Hawk, then looked at Black Hawk's arm that he was still holding. He immediately understood that she had misunderstood. Lin Che smiled. He didn't want to explain it all. He only said lightly, "What did you tell Gu Jingza?" And Lan said, "Are you playing dumb with me? You and this man. I understand that after marriage, you will probably feel empty and lonely, especially someone as busy as Gu Jingza. But you can't do something that will let him down here." Lin Che chuckled. "Miss and the family clearly wants you to marry Jingyu, but you are more concerned about the already married Gu Jingza. That's not right, is it?" And Lan said, "Are you saying that I'm being a busybody? I'm not. I just can't stand your way of doing things." Lin Che said, "Why don't you say that you're paying too much attention to Gu Jingza? What are you trying to do?" And Lan was embarrassed, but she had already said it. Moreover, looking at Lin Che and this man, she felt that she had something to use against her. She said even more presumptuously, "What am I trying to do? Are you feeling threatened now? That's right, I want Gu Jingza. My family and the Gu family should have been connected by marriage in the first place. It's just that you're in the middle. So what if you know? Are you going to tell Gu Jingza? I'm not afraid of you telling him. That's what I was thinking anyway. But you have to be careful, because if you go out and talk nonsense, then I'll let everyone know that you're hooking up with another man." "Oh, so you admit that you're interested in Gu Jingza? So what if I am? I didn't know that shaking hands with my own brother is against the law." Lin Che glanced at Black Hawk. "What, brother?" Chapter 12:57. Was he haying? And Lan hadn't expected him to be haying. She had forgotten whether she had seen him before. Every time she went to the Gu mansion, it was when she was in a panic, so she hadn't taken a good look at Haiying. Now that she looked at him again, she didn't see any similarities between the two. Haiying was too domineering, and Lin Che looked petite in front of him. And Lan's eyes moved. She knew that she had been too rash. She looked at Haiying and gritted her teeth. "Lin Che, you're on your own." Lin Che rolled his eyes at her. Haiying looked at her with his hands on his hips. And Lan walked away arrogantly. Haiying asked, "Who is she?" "And Lan," Lin Che replied. Haiying said, "Oh, the one who wants to marry into the Gu family. That's right. I suspect that she has something to do with Gu Jingza. But Gu Jingza doesn't remember anything, and I don't have any other evidence, so I can only put it aside for now. Chen Yuqing is already looking for a way to help Gu Jingza recover. We'll deal with it when Gu Jingza recovers." Haiying narrowed his eyes. "You letting her go just like that? What else can we do? She is related to the Gu family after all." Lin Che pulled Haiying in. "Let's go in." Haiying looked over. She was a family person, but he wasn't. He raised his eyebrows. "Okay, you go in first. I'm going to smoke." "Don't smoke so much." "Got it, naggy girl." Lin Che laughed. She was becoming more and more presumptuous in front of Haiying. Maybe it was because of a sense of security. Was she admitting that he was her brother more and more? Lin Che, who had never felt protected by an older brother, suddenly felt very sweet. Outside, Lan had just walked out when she felt two hooligans bump into her. Lan usually had a bunch of followers, but now that she was standing behind, the hooligans still dared to bump into her. Lan glared at them angrily. "What are you doing?" The hooligan accidentally spilled the tea in his hand on her expensive dress. At this moment, seeing that she was angry, he immediately lowered his head and said, I'm really sorry. Let me help you wipe it." "Don't be angry. Just wipe it and it'll be fine. As for the tea, I'll wash it when I get home." The little hooligan lowered his head to wipe it for her, but he didn't know what he was touching. But when he wiped it, an even darker mark immediately appeared on her white dress. A nice dress was ruined just like that. And Lan looked down and shouted angrily, "Fuck off. Don't touch me. You're so dirty." The hooligan was still smiling. I'm really sorry. My hand seemed to have touched something dirty just now. I forgot in a hurry." And Lan was so angry that his face turned red. He said to the people behind him, "Throw these people out." The hooligan took a look and said, "What? Io, I just accidentally dirted your clothes, and you actually want to hit me?" Unland's face was flushed. He pointed at the people in front of him and shouted, "Go and chase these people away." The people below hurried over, but for some reason, even though they looked like ordinary hooligans, when a few servants went over to chase them away, the hooligans kicked them to the ground. "Fuck, we were kind enough to wipe it for you, but you still dare to hit us? Do you think we're easy to bully?" Unlan was stunned. She looked at the servant who had just rushed over and immediately fell to the ground, wailing, "Io, miss, hurry up and call the police." Unlan took a few steps back. You. The hooligans didn't look like hooligans at all, and they immediately closed in on her. Before Unlan could react, one of the hooligans grabbed a glass of water at the side and splashed it at Unlan's face. Unlan cried out, and the servants at the side hurried over to stop him. What are you doing? What are you doing? Don't you know who we are? We're not to be trifled with." The hooligans didn't care about this and continued to walk towards Unlan. Seeing that her makeup was already quite messy, they hurriedly covered their hair with their hands. Their wet hair also hung down, and they looked extremely disheveled. Unlan had never been so embarrassed before, and it was in such a public place. She was so angry that tears started flowing down her cheeks. You wait. Io, missing, what's wrong with you?" Just then, a low mocking voice came from the side. Unlan looked over and saw Hae-ing leaning lazily against the door, looking over with a low smile. Unlan looked at the hooligans and immediately understood. Hae-ing did it on purpose. Unlan shook off the servant who was supporting her and looked at Hae-ing. You're playing with me on purpose. How dare you treat me like this? Did Lin Che order you to do this? How dare you?" Hae-ing chuckled. "The person who can order me to do something probably hasn't even been born yet. Hee, that's your sister. Of course you're helping her. I know she's my sister, so I don't have to waste my breath." His ambiguous tone made it clear that he had admitted it. But even if he admitted it, he couldn't really say it out loud. In the end, it made people feel helpless. Even if they wanted to scold him, they didn't have any evidence. And in front of him, a few hooligans who were just there seemed to have disappeared all of a sudden, and no one knew where they went. Unlan was so angry that her face turned white and black. She stretched out her trembling fingers, and her entire body was shaking. Coupled with her pathetic appearance, she looked like a crazy woman who had lost her mind. She stood there for everyone to see, but she didn't seem to notice them at all. She just pointed at Hae-ing and said, "How dare you treat me like this?" Hae-ing harumphed. "Missin, what nonsense are you talking about? How did I treat you?" He was acting dumb now. Unlan's eyes were red. She wanted to go over and kill him. But Hae-ing just looked at her suspiciously. "Io, did Missin offend someone? How did you end up like this? You don't look like a missy at all. You look like a lunatic. Why aren't you looking at yourself in the mirror? If I were you, I'd definitely jump off a building and kill myself." Unlan's face darkened. She just remembered that she looked terrible right now. She couldn't hold back her grief and anger. She looked at him and said, "Hae-ing, you and I are irreconcilable." Hae-ing harumphed. "You?" Unlan said, "Don't be arrogant." Hi. Hae-ing have never been afraid of anyone. Come at me. I want to see who in the family dares to play with me." Hae-ing said, "Why don't you let the people behind you try?" When the people behind him heard this, they immediately shrunk their necks. How could they dare to dot? That was Hae-ing. He could single-handedly tear apart a group of them. Not to mention, this Hae-ing was vicious and merciless. If they offended him now, they wouldn't be able to live. Chapter 1258. When Anlin saw his own people suddenly become so cowardly, he was even more furious and almost fainted from anger. She was such a disgrace. How could her people be so useless? At this moment, the number of people watching the show suddenly increased. Inside, Lin Che was still wondering why Black Hawk hadn't come back yet when he heard a shop assistant say, "Look, there's a fight outside. It's so exciting. That guy is so handsome. Isn't he bullying a woman? How can he be handsome? He's still handsome. That woman is obviously not a good person. I think you're just looking at his face. If he's handsome, everything he does is good. When Lin Che saw this, he immediately stood up. It can't be. What did Black Hawk do? The few of them felt something was wrong and hurriedly followed him out. They saw Lan standing there with her hair in a mess and her face flushed red. The people around her were looking at her mockingly. Black Hawk was leaning on the side with his arms crossed, as if it had nothing to do with him. The corner of his mouth was full of mockery. Lan saw Gu Jingze and Lin Che standing together. Gu Jingze was here too. She was so angry that she felt ashamed to see anyone. She stomped her feet and glared at Lin Che angrily. Then she kicked away the useless servant beside her and ran out. Damn, what's going on? Lin Che looked at Black Hawk. What? What are you doing? Black Hawk said, Nothing, I'm just watching the show. Watching the show? Lin Che was speechless. He pulled Black Hawk and said, All right, come in quickly. There's so many people watching. Sigh and Lan just. It's okay, she's asking for trouble. But Black Hawk only pressed her shoulder. Don't worry, I'm not a member of the Gu family. If she finds fault with you, she'll be in the wrong. When that happens, I'll kill her. So he was still helping her vent her anger. Lin Che felt a surge of warmth in his heart. Looking at Black Hawk, he felt helpless and speechless. Mu Firen was also watching. She pulled Lin Che into the hall first, lest there were too many people outside. It wouldn't be good to watch the two of them. Lin Che shook his head and said to Mu Firen, Firen, I don't think he's like this. Alas, he's my elder brother, so I can't say anything. You're my good sister, so I can't say anything either. You'd better do as you see fit. If you still have feelings for him, then cherish him. You've seen him. He's like this. He wants to treat others well, but he can't grasp it. However, he will never let the person he likes suffer. At first, we didn't know each other, so he did that to you. Now that we're familiar with each other and know each other, look at him now. Is he still the person who gave you nightmares? Mu Firen pursed her lips and said, I know, he's very good. But, however, in the end, he still couldn't overcome the mental barrier. Lin Che patted her shoulder. He didn't expect her to forgive Black Hawk so easily. But now it seemed that she did have feelings for the Black Hawk. Soon, it was time for the court summons to appear in court. Seeing that Lin Che hadn't contacted him for a long time, Chen Hui had no choice but to go to Xuemingqi's people. He agreed to testify for them, and this time, he only wanted a small part of the benefits. Seeing that he was tactful enough to testify for them, of course it was good, so they reluctantly agreed. But today, Chen Hui came with the lawyer to collect evidence. He drove his Maserati here, and his clothes were brand new. It seemed that he really wanted to come here to prove to them that he was living a good life after leaving this place. Indeed, Xuemingqi had given him a lot of money. For an ordinary person, this amount of money could be squandered for a long time. Chen Hui came in with the lawyer. He snorted and said, We're going to court soon. Are you all okay? Seeing Chen Hui walk in coquettishly, he tilted his head and said, Humph, it feels good to buy things with the betrayal money. Chen Hui said, What betrayal money? Get it clear, I deserve it. Humph, you'll get what you deserve one day. Okay, let me see. Didn't you say that you have evidence? Why is it that my investigation results? You still can't do anything about it? Haha, I don't mind revealing something to you. This lawyer is a top lawyer in the Gu family. Let's see if the lawyer you hired can beat him. The few of them looked at each other. Seeing Chen Hui so proud, they were really angry. Just then, KG came over from behind and said, All right, go do what you need to do. We'll talk about it in court. However, how could they continue doing it? They were already furious just looking at Chen Hui. Chen Hui shook his head. Yeah. Hurry up and do something. This game might not exist anymore soon. You guys should hurry up and enjoy yourselves. Sigh, but I still want to ask you, why don't I see your lawyer? Where is he? Their matters were all handled by Lin Che, so they didn't know anything about it. Naturally, they didn't know how to reply to Chen Hui. Sister Che's side is ready. Just wait, tilted his head said. Chen Hui laughed. Do you really think that Lin Che is omnipotent? Humph. Tilted his head and pursed his lips. He really wanted to go over and punch Chen Hui. Yes, Chen Hui, you're amazing. You're so proud of yourself after getting into the Gu family's good graces. But you can only be proud this once. I don't believe that the Gu family will use you again. Even if you leave us, the Gu family won't want a traitor like you. Chen said, so what? I've already gotten the money. You guys are different. If the game is gone, you'll lose everything. Ha ha. Chen said. Besides, how do you know that the Gu family won't use me? In the business world, they need someone like me who knows how to be flexible. At this moment, no, the Gu family needs someone who knows how to be flexible, not someone who will be flexible for no reason. Lin Che had arrived. There were a few people following behind him. It looked like they hadn't met before. When Tilted Neck saw that Lin Che had finally arrived, his eyes lit up. Chen laughed. Who do you think you are? You just started a company, and you think you know everything. Lin Che said, I just heard that someone was talking nonsense behind us about why we don't have a lawyer. Didn't I bring my lawyer here? So the people following behind were lawyers. Chen looked over as well. But at this moment, in front of them, the lawyer who came with Chen Hui was immediately stunned when he saw the people behind Lin Che. Lawyer Wu, why are you? He immediately walked over in a low voice and shook hands with him. Chen Hui was stunned. They knew each other? However, it was understandable for good lawyers to know each other. But looking at him, why did he look so lowly? It was as if he didn't even dare to be taller than Lawyer Wu. Lawyer Wu, why? Aren't you the exclusive lawyer of the Gu family anymore? Why are you still? Why do you take on a contract from another company? Chapter 1259. The others didn't know what was going on either. They just stood at the side and watched. Lawyer Wu was shocked when he saw him. What are you doing? Why are you here? Lawyer Zheng quickly said, Didn't Miss Shui ask me to come? Lawyer Wu was stunned. Did they hit their own people? Did Miss Shui know who this was? It shouldn't be. If she knew, she wouldn't have asked Lao Zheng to come. He rolled his eyes. He had been in this industry for so many years. How could he know? Lao Zheng, don't take this case anymore. Huh? Listen to me. Find an excuse to reject it. He wouldn't meddle in the internal affairs of the Gu Corporation, but he still revealed something. He looked at Lin Che from the corner of his eyes. Lawyer Zheng took a look and seemed to understand something. Lawyer Wu had come here because of Lin Che. They didn't know much about the entertainment industry and didn't know who Lin Che was. They had only heard of him. Lawyer Zheng's status wasn't that high, so he couldn't get in touch with the higher-ups of the Gu family. He wasn't like Lawyer Wu, who was definitely in the core of the family. Lawyer Zheng immediately said, Thank you. Thank you, Lawyer Wu, for your advice. I understand. With that, he bade farewell and was about to leave. Chen Hui was dumbfounded. The two of them had been talking for a while. Why did they want to leave? What were they doing? Lawyer Zheng, wait for me. Aren't we here to negotiate today? Why are you? I'm not feeling well. I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm leaving. Hey you. Crooked Neck and the others saw that Chen Hui was about to leave and asked, What's going on? Lawyer Wu said, Looks like we don't have to fight this lawsuit anymore. Really, this Lao Zheng didn't know who he was. She was Gu Jing's wife, who was Miss Shui. Now, not to mention anything else, all the affairs of Gu's were managed by this lady. Chen Hui quickly looked at Lawyer Zheng. Hey, you can't leave just like that. What's going on? Chen Hui wanted to see them all go down. Now that they were here to negotiate, they didn't have any evidence to prove that they didn't plagiarize, but Lawyer Zheng wanted to leave. Lawyer Zheng said, That's enough. Who can beat Lawyer Wu in a lawsuit? Besides, I don't dare to fight him. Is that person very powerful? Chen Hui found it strange. How did they find such a powerful lawyer? Even Lawyer Zheng didn't dare to fight with him. Let's not talk about anything else. We work for the same company. What do you mean? He is also Gu's lawyer. What? Chen Hui was taken aback. That was impossible. How could that be? How could Lin Che find a lawyer from the Gu Corporation? Besides, there are lawyers who specialize in handling business for Gu Jingze. That's because President Gu is a lawyer. They're not the same as lawyers like us who can't get in touch with the central area. Gu Jingze is. That's the head of the Gu clan. I've never seen him in person, okay? Then, how did they get this lawyer? Yeah, I'm curious too. Ever since Lawyer Wu went to the top floor, he hasn't accepted any outside work. It seems like that woman has something to do with the Gu family. That's why she came. What? Lin Che has something to do with the Gu family? That's impossible. Do you think I don't know? She's an artist. If she really had something to do with the Gu family, why would she work with Kai Sheng? She could have just asked the Gu family to fund her. I don't know about that. But Lawyer Wu is much better than me in terms of experience, connections, and determination to fight a lawsuit. He hasn't lost in 3 years. If I go to court with him, I'll be courting death." With that, Lawyer Zheng shook his head and left with the folder. "Hey you." Chen Hui was still behind, scratching his head in confusion. He couldn't understand why Lin Che had something to do with the Gu family. Everyone was looking at Lin Che. Then this lawsuit. Lin Che asked with a crooked neck. Lin Che said, "Didn't they withdraw? I don't think this lawsuit will continue." "Ah." Lin Che said, "All right, let's get back to work. Don't worry about it." "Wow. No way, it's over just like that." Actually, Lin Che wasn't worried. Xuemingqi targeted their game mainly because she didn't know who she was. Once she knew, Xuemingqi wouldn't mess with this game to avoid arousing suspicion. So at most, he would just reveal his background. They hadn't reached that step yet, but asking Lawyer Wu to help was enough to make the other party fantasize. On the other side, Xuemingqi received the news immediately. "What do you mean? This game was made by Lin Che? How could it beat out the person on the other side said? They said it wasn't Lin Che. Lin Che is just with them. How could it be her?" Xuemingqi was a little surprised. She felt that they had bumped into each other again and was very unhappy. Maybe it's not her. She doesn't have the ability. Maybe it's because of that TV series. Yeah, that's true. Didn't they work together for that TV series? Maybe it's a collaboration. She actually asked for help from the Gu family. She's deliberately going against us. All right, there's no other way. Since the Gu family is already involved, there's no other way. How could this be? Xuemingqi also clenched her fists tightly, feeling very angry. Their crisis was finally over. Crooked Neck was very happy. He shouted from inside, "I knew it. With Sister Che around, there's nothing that can't be done. Sister Che, let's go celebrate tonight." Lin Che also felt a little sorry for his companions. At first, he didn't want to reveal too much, so he didn't mention his relationship with the Gu family. These days, although they seemed fine on the surface, they must have been very worried. Now that they were relaxed, she said directly, "Okay, let's go eat." Crooked Neck took the opportunity to say to KG, "What a good woman. KG, you should make good use of tonight. The atmosphere is good. If you work harder, you might succeed." KG looked at Lin Che and retorted. At the dining place, everyone was drinking happily. Lin Che said, "Everyone has worked hard these days." The few of them raised their glasses together. KG took a look and picked up Lin Che's glass. "Let me." Lin Che said, "Hey KG, what are you doing?" KG said, "Girls shouldn't drink too much." Lin Che said, "It's okay. Everyone is happy today. Don't worry, it's okay for me to drink occasionally." Crooked Neck winked and said, "Drink, drink." He also tugged at KG. "You can confess when she's tipsy. It'll definitely work. Go away." But they had never drunk with Lin Che before, so they didn't know how high Lin Che's alcohol tolerance was. It was indeed a little touching. After a while, Lin Che started to get drunk. "This time, I'm really happy to be with everyone. KG, tell me, do you have a girl you like in our company? You're not young anymore. You can date now. Stop coding every day. If you like someone, I'll help you talk to her. It's not easy for a coder to find a partner." Chapter 1260. KG looked at her as he drank his wine in silence. Crooked Neck couldn't take it anymore. "Sister Che, do we need to find someone else? What do you think of our KG?" "Huh?" Lin Che looked at Crooked Neck in surprise. "What do you mean?" "That's right. Our KG actually likes you." "Ah." Lin Che was stunned for a moment. It took him a while to react. He smiled and said, "Haha, you must be joking. I'm going out to pee." He had no choice but to pee. Lin Che felt like he was going to die once he was outside. Crooked Neck, what nonsense was she spouting? But did KG really want to do that? Li Mingyu had said the same thing, but Lin Che didn't think much of it. Thinking of this, he was still worried. Lin Che thought that he had no choice but to tell them the truth. Previously, he didn't want to explain so much, but now it seemed like he had no choice. Moreover, they were trustworthy people now, so he wasn't worried about what they would say to others. Lin Che picked up the phone and called Gu Jingze. "Hubby, do you want to pick me up tonight?" After a while, Lin Che walked back into the room. KG was still sitting there eating. Crooked Neck looked at her expectantly, obviously not forgetting what she had said. Lin Che said, "Why are you staring at me?" Crooked Neck said, "What do you think, Sister Che? Are you shy?" Hee, we're all on the same side. Just say what you want to say. Don't be shy. Lin Che said, "I'm really sorry. I've already sold it overseas." Crooked Neck was stunned, not understanding what he meant. KG paused and looked at Lin Che. Lin Che said, "I'm married." Crooked Neck's jaw almost dropped. How is that possible? Why haven't I heard of it? Why did you hear about it? Crooked Neck moved closer and stammered. "Sister Che, you can't do this. You can't say that you're married just because you want to reject KG. If you're married, the whole world will know. You're so famous. There's so many paparazzi." There were indeed many paparazzi, but they couldn't get in touch with the Gu family. Lin Che smiled. "You've thought about it. The paparazzi aren't that resourceful. They're still a bit lacking if they want to follow me. In the past, there had been people who wanted to follow Lin Che, but they were intercepted halfway. Later on, they found out that Lin Che's bodyguards were different from other bodyguards. The entire industry knew about it, including the paparazzi. It was impossible to get any news from Lin Che, so they didn't waste any more time. At this moment, Gu Jingzi really came. Lin Che looked at the phone ringing and hurriedly said, "Okay, my husband is here to pick me up." Crooked Neck was stunned. Was there really such a husband? Tilting his neck, he said, "No, I have to go and take a look." Lin Che didn't care and said to him, "Come on then." Crooked Neck followed him out. Outside, he saw a group of people waiting for Lin Che. He still couldn't believe it, but then he saw Lin Che turn around and run over with a smile. The car door opened and Gu Jingzi got out. He tilted his head and stared at this person in a daze. Sigh, he looks familiar, but he forgot who it was. Thinking about it carefully. Sigh, KG, why does this person look so much like the master of the Gu family that you showed me last time? KG narrowed his eyes and said, "That's him." "What?" Crooked Neck looked outside in disbelief. KG said, "I hacked into the Gu Corporation's system previously, but I was blocked. Later on, I worked with a few people to hack into the system together and had a chance to take a look. But I didn't get too deep into the system. I did confirm that this man is the master of the Gu family, Gu Jingzi." Crooked Neck had seen KG hack into the Gu Corporation and heard from Chun Hui about how powerful the Gu Corporation was. They wanted to go in and take a look, and KG tried to hack into the system, but there were many obstacles and it wasn't easy to get in. He only took a screenshot of Gu Jingzi's photo and showed it to him. Later on, KG went in to take a look and studied Gu Jingzi's photo even more carefully. So now that he saw it, KG recognized him immediately. Crooked Neck said, "It can't be." He was just too surprised, but he didn't feel anything else. He watched as Lin Che got into the car and left. Then he watched as the motorcade left in an orderly manner. Crooked Neck still couldn't close his mouth. Their boss was so pitiful. It wasn't easy for him to find someone he liked, and it was Gu Jingzi's wife. Even if you were slightly weaker, it would be fine. The next day, Lin Che arrived at the office early in the morning. "Sister Che, why you kept us in the dark? Quick, tell us. Was that Gu Jingzi from yesterday?" Crooked Neck heard that Lin Che would be coming today, so he waited at the door early. Lin Che entered and said, "You know Gu Jingzi? Do you think we're blind?" Crooked Neck said, "Didn't we see him yesterday?" Lin Che was a little surprised. "I know, but Gu Jingzi's appearance. It seems like not many people outside know about it." Crooked Neck said, "They don't know, but our boss saw him after he hacked into the system that day." Hacked into the system? Lin Che rolled his eyes and suddenly realized something. "You guys hacked into the Gu Corporation?" That Crooked Neck hurriedly covered his mouth. I didn't say anything." Lin Che looked at him in shock. "No way. You guys don't want to live anymore. You even hacked into the Gu Corporation." Is the Gu Corporation very powerful? Can't you hack into it?" Crooked Neck asked. Lin Che said, "Of course, you can hack into it as you wish. If they get your address, the police might come knocking on your door." Lin Che didn't know about it in the past. It was only after coming into contact with the Gu Corporation that he realized how powerful the system was. She said, "They're directly connected to the alarm system, and the security is very tight. It's not like the anti-theft measures of a normal company. It would be strange if you could get in and steal anything." It was KG who hacked into it. He didn't hack into too many places. He just wanted to take a look. "Is that so? That KG is really powerful," Lin Che praised. He had heard from Qin how many times that their system's firewall could protect them 100% against external intrusions. However, KG was still able to get in. It was obvious that he was also very powerful. Crooked Neck said, "Of course, our boss." Lin Che said, "Also, the number of capable people in the Goo Corporation is definitely beyond imagination. Even the assistant in the Goo Corporation can block your KG's intrusion." "Bullshit. What assistant in the Goo Corporation?" "CEO's assistant. I couldn't find you last time. You were hiding. I only found you after I asked Qin Hao for help." "Ah, okay, I know him." KG said that he should be a veteran guru. His skills are very unique. Chapter 1261. She crooked her neck, thinking that something was wrong. Hey, Sis Che, I'm asking you how your goojings is. Don't change the topic." Lin Che said, "What's there to talk about? We got married a long time ago. We just hid it from the public." "Ayaya, that's goojingza. That's the Goo Corporation. No wonder you weren't worried that the Goo Corporation would come after us." Lin Che said, "Yeah, if Xuanmengqi knows it's me, she probably won't continue to go against us. She's someone who cares about her reputation." She tilted her head and looked at the ceiling with a face full of imagination. "Aya, I really want to know how Chunhui will feel when he finds out about this." Before this, he kept talking about how powerful the Gu family was and how we couldn't beat them. He completely felt that the Gu family was too powerful, so he betrayed us. But he didn't know that we had the Gu family as our backing. Lin Che said, "That's why people always find reasons for their own choices." Sigh. Now he can only bear the consequences of his choices. Tilting her head, she said, "I'm looking forward to seeing Chun Hui's expression when he finds out how laughable his betrayal is." Lin Che smiled. She was looking forward to it too. On the other side, when Enlon returned home, he tearfully complained to his family. "Dad, how could Black Hawk treat me like this? Do you know how many people were watching? How could he be so arrogant?" And Guodong looked at her. "That Black Hawk is really outrageous." He sighed and thought for a moment before saying, "But we can't use force against him. In terms of force, we definitely can't beat them. You should just bear with it." "Dad, but I can't take it lying down." "So what if you can't take it lying down? Who told you to offend Black Hawk?" "All right, you don't know this person. He's arrogant and scary. Ordinary people can't compare to him." "Dad, are you just going to let him bully you like this?" And Lon looked at her father in disbelief. Could it be that the family couldn't beat Black Hawk? This isn't the time to be impulsive. Black Hawk has no bottom line. We have a bottom line, but he doesn't. So how can you compare yourself to him? All right, you go back first. Don't worry about this." Amon was about to go crazy. He was humiliated for no reason, yet his family didn't even care about it. Amon left angrily. When he arrived at the coffee shop outside, he saw that the group of people outside looked very strict. It seemed that there were some important people in this coffee shop. Amon also brought some people, looking on in dissatisfaction, thinking inwardly that her family wasn't inferior to anyone else. So how could others be so arrogant, and she couldn't? The family servant asked Amon, "Miss, where are we going now?" Amon pointed at the cafe that was guarded. "Let's go there." The helper took a look. "It looks like it's been sealed." Amon turned around angrily and scolded. "So what if it's sealed? What are we lacking? You guys can't beat Black Hawk, and you guys can't beat these people, right? Then what use do I have for you?" When the few helpers saw this, they hurriedly said, No, miss, we just don't want Miss to cause trouble." "Miss is right. We aren't inferior to anyone else. Our family is just too humble and low-key." Amon snorted and walked over. When he reached the door, he was stopped by someone. He pointed inside angrily. "What are you guys doing? Is this your shop? Why won't you let us in?" The few of them looked at Enlon, then looked at the people behind Enlon. They didn't say anything and just continued to block him. At this moment, the people behind Enlon didn't dare to hide anymore and hurriedly went forward. The people in the shop were all trembling with fear as the two sides faced each other. But at this moment, Miss and Alon looked inside. "Ah, you're from the Goof family." Alon had seen the woman who was smiling wholeheartedly in front of him in the Goof family, but he had forgotten who she was. Inside, Xuemingqi smiled and said, "Missin, I'm Xuemingqi." "Ah, Miss Xue." Alon knew her. This Xuemingqi, who had the ability to compete for the position of mistress of the Gu family, had been the topic of many people's discussions recently. The two of them immediately dispelled the tension between them and went inside to sit down. Alon couldn't hold it in any longer and directly accused Lin Che. After all, she knew that Xuemingqi and Lin Che definitely didn't have a good relationship. They were definitely competitors. "Miss Xue, Lin Che from the Gu family really left a deep impression on me." Xuemingqi raised her eyebrows. Not everyone in the Gu family is like that. When Alon heard this, he even vomited a bellyful of bitterness at Xuemingqi. She talked about how she had been humiliated yesterday and how arrogant and disgusting Lin Che was. Xuemingqi looked at her with a smile and said a few words from time to provoke her. Alon was even angrier when she heard this. At this moment, she said directly, "Humph." She used Gu Jingze as a shield. Now that Gu Jingze has lost his memory, she must be enjoying being a queen. She must be very happy being under the control of the Gu family. Xuemingqi's hand that was holding the coffee cup paused. "What did you say? What happened to Gu Jingze?" Alon almost bit his tongue in disbelief. She had let it slip that Xuemingqi narrowed her eyes. Suddenly, a smile appeared on her lips. "Gu Jingze has lost his memory?" Alon didn't know what to say. She could only smile awkwardly. A shrewd glint flashed across Xuemingqi's eyes, and she looked at Alon with great agreement. "Missin, don't worry. We're on the same side. We are all enemies of Lin Che, aren't we?" While Lin Che was at home, Mu Wanqing suddenly called him. "Lin Che, the family said that Shi Yuan's second birthday is coming up soon. They want to celebrate her birthday because there hasn't been a proper banquet since she was born. She hasn't met anyone yet. They want to use this opportunity to let people get to know this third miss of the Gu family." Lin Che said, "Whose idea was this?" Usually, Mu Wanqing wouldn't take the initiative to do these things because Gu Jingze didn't like it. So in the past, she didn't hold a one-month banquet or a birthday party. Mu Wanqing said, "It was suggested by the Gu family. I don't know how to reject it." Lin Che vaguely felt that something was wrong. "Mom, I'm afraid this isn't that simple. Did Xuemingqi suggest it to the Gu family?" Mu Wanqing thought for a moment and felt that it made sense. "I also think there might be a reason, but what should we do now?" Lin Che said, "Maybe Xuemingqi has some tricks up her sleeves. However, Gu Jingze doesn't want to see anyone at this time. If he rejects this, it will make people suspicious." "You think that Xuemingqi has already started to suspect something?" "That's right. If she doesn't suspect it, then she already knows. In short, it must have something to do with her." Mu Wanqing was very gratified on the other end of the phone. She felt that Lin Che had been working hard recently, but it was worth it. She had grown a lot. Mu Wanqing was very surprised and admired her. After all, Lin Che was smart. It was just that he didn't like fame and fortune that much in the past, so he couldn't be bothered to think about these things. Now that she had no choice but to stand up, she was able to hold on. Chapter 1262. The Gu family was very attentive to Shi Yuan's birthday banquet. Because it was suggested by the clan members, the banquet was also prepared by the clan members. The banquet prepared by the clan members would only be more luxurious. Unlike Gu Jingze, who liked to keep a low profile, the clan members couldn't treat Gu Jingze's daughter casually. They wanted to do everything to show how much they valued this third Mississippi. She was called Third Miss because she had young Master Nian Yin and Second Miss Nian Yin. She was ranked third in the Gu family, so she was called Third Mississippi. At night, the manor under the clan members' wallets was decorated. It was brightly lit from the inside out. The entire white world was decorated with artificial snowflakes. The children of the various clans were still playing on the ground. Nian Yin brought Yun Yin along. Yin had been unhappy recently because Uncle Mo and her mother were at odds. She hadn't eaten with him in a long time and hadn't listened to his bedtime stories. Yin saw that she was in a bad mood, so he brought her here to relax. Beside him, Li Wei was also there, watching from the back. There was also Gu Jingming's Yin and Lu Beichen's Little Apple. The few children who were around the same age usually played together in kindergarten. Today, they naturally followed Yin here. There were too few boys and too many girls. Gu Shinian was leading the way, and Li Wei was following behind him to help. As Yin sat there, Li Wei hurriedly ran back and forth to pour water, fruits, and snacks for her. But Yin was still in a bad mood. She pouted and looked ahead. It was only when he saw Mo Yin that he jumped to his feet. "Uncle Mo!" She jumped over and called out. Mo Yin walked over and picked Yin up. "Yin, be good." Yin looked at him with tears streaming down her face. "Uncle Mo, do you not want me and Mummy anymore?" Haiying frowned. "How is that possible? Then why doesn't Mummy go to Uncle's house? Why don't I go to Uncle's house too?" Haiying stroked her fringe. "Because your Mummy is angry at Uncle, but she will calm down soon. You should coax Mummy and ask her to forgive Uncle soon. Uncle will go back soon." Yin nodded and wiped her tears. "I'll go back and tell my mother to forgive Uncle as soon as possible. I want to hear Uncle's stories." Hey, and kissed her on the top of her head. "Be good. Uncle will visit you every day and tell you stories." Sure. Gu Shinian watched from his side. "Is Uncle going to take the roundabout route to save the country?" Blackhawk lowered his head. "What do you know?" Gu Shinian crossed his arms. "I told you long ago that you should have told me the truth earlier, but you still didn't say it." Blackhawk felt that he had enough of being taught a lesson by a child. He glared at him with narrowed eyes. However, if he had said it back then, Mu Firen might have ignored him. Now that he had said it, at least he had some feelings for Mu Firen. Even if Mu Firen rejected him, she did not reject him too harshly. Right now, he still had a little bit of hope. "Mr. Mo, Mr. Chi has invited you over." Blackhawk nodded and prepared to go over to socialize. Blackhawk was about to leave, but beside him, Yin tugged at the corner of his clothes reluctantly. Blackhawk sighed, lowered his head, and said, "Come on, I'll bring you along, okay?" When Yin heard this, she smiled happily. Blackhawk was not angry at Yin at all. He carried her and walked over. Yin, who was being carried by Blackhawk, sat in his arms. Everyone looked at Blackhawk, a little surprised. Why was there a child in Blackhawk's arms? Gu Shinian shook his head speechlessly. Li Wei said, "Why did he bring Yin away?" Gu Shinian looked at Li Wei. "If you want to marry Yin in the future, you have to please him first." Li Wei's little face turned red. "Who wants to marry?" "We're still young. What nonsense are you talking about?" Gu Shinian clasped his hands behind his back, looking like a little adult. Although there were social circles when it came to beating people up, so did children. Moreover, this social circle was more or less related to adults. This was because the clan members would definitely remind their children who these people were and who they could become in the future. They were the children of the Gu family's legal wife, so they were different from the clan members. The clan members reminded their children, "The few over there, don't go over and cause trouble." Why? The children were still a little confused. What's their status? They're the legal wife and will inherit the Gu family's position in the future. They're even closer to them, so they can't be with you. You can go over and play, but you have to be careful. It's okay to interact more with them, but you can't cause trouble with them. You have to remember there's an order of seniority and there's a difference in status. The children were even more confused, but after being threatened, they felt that they might be different from them, so they more or less distanced themselves from them. Actually, Gu Jingze and Lin Che had never told the children about the concept of family status. Gu Shinian had never felt that his status was different from the other children. Although he looked down on ordinary children, he felt that they were too childish. But now, they could only play together on their own. It was also because the children's attitudes towards them made them feel uncomfortable. Some of them were very careful, while others were a little hostile because of their parents, and they looked at them strangely. As time went by, these children formed this kind of group. After all, everyone wanted to play with people they were comfortable with. Little Apple and Yin Yin were very good friends because they grew up together. Gu Shinian and Yun Yun were the same. Although Li Wei had only joined them recently, he was slowly getting along with the group. The few of them were also very comfortable playing together, so they sat together. Yin Yin, why isn't your sister out yet? Little Apple asked. I don't know. Maybe Mom is dressing her up. Lin Shay usually loved to dress Gu Shiwan up too much, and he always took a long time to dress her up. Dressing her up? Yin Yin said, You women are so troublesome. Little Apple said, Nonsense, I'm a girl. Yin Yin glared at her. You'll be a woman in the future, and you'll be like your mother. It's so troublesome to go out. Nonsense, my mother isn't that troublesome. Gu Shinian said, Auntie isn't that troublesome. Annie has to dress up for an hour before going out. That's because my mother is beautiful. Sigh, there's nothing to talk about with women anyway. Hey, your sister is out. Just then, they saw Gu Shiwan stumbling out of the room with the nanny. Although the 2-year-old child had already learned to walk, his steps always gave people a sense of unsteadiness. The servant pulled him from behind, but Shi Yuan still fell to the ground. The servant quickly tried to pull the child up. Chapter 1263. All right, I'll do it. Gu Shinian had already run over. He frowned and carried Gu Shiwan. Gu Shiwan was plump, and Gu Shinian carried her as if she was a meatball. The helper hurriedly said, Young master, I'm sorry, we didn't notice. Gu Shinian waved his hand. Gu Shiwan climbed onto his body. Brother, she couldn't speak properly and kept calling out to him. Her voice sounded weird. Gu Shinian frowned. It's brother. Yes, he. Gu Shiwan saw the delicious cake and struggled to get down. Gu Shinian could only follow. Gu Shiwan picked up a cake with her chubby hands and stuffed it into her mouth. On the other side, 2 7- or 8-year-old kids laughed when they saw Gu Shiwan's expression. Gu Shiwan's face was so ugly that he dropped the cake on the ground before he could finish it. One of the children immediately picked up the cake and tried to trick Gu Shiwan. Eat, hurry up and eat. This kind of dirty food is the best. Gu Shiwan was too young and naturally didn't understand, so she went over to pick it up. At that moment, Gu Shinian slammed the cake on the ground. The 2 children jumped in fright. They raised their heads and noticed Gu Shinian's sharp gaze. He was coldly staring at the 2 children who were taller than him. Aye. The 2 older children were clearly frightened by Gu Shinian. Pick it up and eat it yourself, Gu Shinian said fiercely. One of the children blushed. What are you doing? We were just teasing her. Gu Shinian picked up Gu Shiwan and picked up a piece of fresh cake. He carefully removed the fruit that was too big and coaxed her to eat it. Eat this. Don't eat the dirty things on the ground. With that, Gu Shiwan stepped on the cake and looked at the 2 of them. Didn't you say that the dirty ones taste good? Eat them now. The 2 children's expressions changed. They were not as sophisticated as the adults. They looked at Gu Shinian and shouted, What are you doing? I'm going to call my mother. You're bullying me. Gu Shinian said, I'm bullying you. Li Wei followed behind and said, Who told you to bully Gu Shiwan? That's Gu Shinian's precious little sister. They really didn't want to live anymore, daring to bully Gu Shinian's sister in front of him. Although Gu Shinian always said that women were troublesome, he definitely spoiled Gu Shiwan. Anyone who dared to touch Gu Shiwan would definitely die. The child was so frightened by Gu Shinian that he started crying. As he cried, he ran inside and shouted, Mommy, Gu Shinian is bullying me. Sob, sob, sob. He wants me to eat something that he stepped on. I won't eat it, it's so dirty. What? The clansmen on the other side were also very surprised when they heard this. Then he looked at Gu Shinian, who was standing there with his little sister who was still stuffing herself with food. He narrowed his eyes dangerously, not giving any face at all, just like his father. However, he actually wanted their child to eat a cake that had been stepped on. That was too much, wasn't it? She immediately pulled the child over and lectured him like a child. Yin Yin, children can't be so bad. How can you let your brother eat a cake that you stepped on? You're embarrassing your parents. How did your brother offend you? Even if you're unhappy, you can't bully him like this. Gu Shinian snorted coldly. He has to eat it now. Yin Yin, I'm going to teach you a lesson on your mother's behalf. You child, Even if our child is the child of our clan's in-laws, he's not someone you can bully. Do you think I'm still around? When the child saw that his parents were on his side, he immediately stuck out his tongue at Gu Shinian. Oh, I do indeed think that you're not here. Moreover, he has to eat it today. As he said this, he suddenly called for his bodyguard. Bring the food to him. Seeing that he had actually called for his bodyguard, the mother became anxious again. However, it was true that not everyone had bodyguards. As a female member of the Gu clan, she did not have the qualifications to have bodyguards, so no one came to help her. Looking at the child, she cried out in shock. Is there anyone who can stop me? Is Gu Shinian trying to kill me? At this moment, the child's father also realized what was going on. Compared to the child's mother, the child's father's expression immediately changed when he saw Gu Shinian. Nian Nian, what happened? He pulled his wife and son to his side and glared at her, signaling her to shut up. Gu Shinian said, Lingzi picked up the food on the ground and gave it to Shi Yuan to eat. He even said that dirty food tastes good, so I'm going to fulfill his wish this once. The man's expression changed. It's our fault. We didn't teach our son well. He went up and pulled out the child who was hiding behind. You child, hurry up and apologize to me. Aya, why did you hit the child? The mother was extremely distressed. He pulled the child out and said, Hurry up and apologize to me. The child was crying, but he was also frightened by his father's expression. He quickly said, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Gu Shinian looked at him and waved at his bodyguard. The bodyguard came over and cleaned up the mess. Gu Shinian pulled Gu Shiwan. Let's go. What else do you want to eat? Ice cream. Let's go. I'll take you to eat ice cream. Gu Shinian left with Gu Shiwan. The child's mother was gritting her teeth in anger. You're really good. You're so afraid of a child. Are you crazy? He's Gu Jing's child. So what? He can't humiliate people like that. The child's mother covered her child angrily. Her heart ached. What do you know? Recently, he has started to contact the Gu family's business with Lin Che. He even attended the shareholders' meeting. Do you think your child can compare to him? This kid is ruthless. He has already fired a gun and seen blood at such a young age. Do you want to die? The child's mother trembled when she heard this. She pouted and said, It's all because of his poor upbringing. Our child can't be like this when he's young. Your child wants it. You have to have his status and intelligence. You can't let your child try. He can't even recognize words. He'll be a laughingstock. Lin Che heard about this very soon. After the bodyguard told her, she waved her hand and asked them to leave. She said to Gu Jingze, Nian Nian really spoils Shiwan. I really didn't know that he was such a brother. At first, she was worried that Gu Shinian didn't seem to like girls. However, what Gu Shinian did in the end was really shocking. Not only did he spoil Gu Shiwan more and more, but he also almost became lawless. Chapter 1264. This wasn't a sudden discovery. It was a gradual process. Gu Shinian would take special care of his little sister. No matter what his sister did, he would agree to it. It seemed that even though Gu Shiwan was young, she was very smart. She knew how to read people's expressions. When he doted on her, she would ask for food from the side. She didn't do it in a long-winded manner. Instead, she would ask carefully, Brother, is it delicious? She didn't know many words, but she remembered food very well. Gu Shinian didn't say anything, so she kept asking, Is it delicious? Gu Shinian had no choice but to share everything with her. After that, when she saw other people eating, she would ask Gu Shinian pitifully, Is it delicious? Gu Shinian was such a cold person, yet he had to go over and ask for food for his sister. The two children were very sweet to watch. Every time Lin Che did this, he felt that he had made the right decision to give birth to them. Gu Shinian, who had been too independent and weak in relationships, now had a new person to rely on. His emotions became richer and richer. At this moment, a servant said that the birthday party was ready. Lin Che and Gu Jingze went out together. When they were outside, they pulled Gu Shiwan, who was dressed like a little princess. But this little princess was a little fat. Actually, children were cute when they were fat. Because Gu Shiwan had a big appetite, she looked round and round like a meatball. Her face looked very similar to Gu Jing's. She was a beauty since she was young. Her eyes were big and round. Her mouth was small and cute. She had double eyelids and long eyelashes. She didn't need any accessories, but her lips were red and her teeth were white. Of course, her teeth had just grown out, so they looked very small. She walked in with Lin Che. She was still young, but she already looked very stylish. Of course, it could also be because everyone knew that she was Gu Jing's daughter, so they subconsciously looked at her. Lin Che looked at the place. The decorations were so big. There was a porch decorated with flowers. One after another, there were countless fresh flowers. It looked like a lot of effort had been put in. Lin Che sighed. Actually, this wasn't a birthday party for a child. It was more like a social event for adults. She could hear someone saying, "Look at his daughter's birthday party." She was indeed born with a silver spoon in her mouth. If you're jealous, you can have a child with Gu Jing's. No luck. Lin Che also felt that this birthday party was a little too big, but it was the goodwill of his relatives. They paid for it, so Lin Che couldn't do anything about it. Fortunately, the children were still young and did not understand. Next time, he had to tell them that there was no need to spend so much money. Everyone could just treat it as a normal meal. She didn't think it was bad for children to grow up with such vanity. It was only right that Gu Xinian doted on her. He was her older brother, so no matter how much he doted on his little sister, it would never be too much. However, it wouldn't be right for outsiders to spoil them too. Happy birthday. Aya, the child is too beautiful. She will definitely be a great beauty in the future. So cute. Meaty, what are you eating? You look so cute. Everyone's praises were true. Looking at the child, they couldn't help but feel that genes were really good. Her parents were beautiful, and she definitely wouldn't be ugly in the future. At that time, she would definitely be popular with many men. Just look at how her mother was now a seductress that many men were infatuated with. In the future, her child wouldn't be bad either. However, at this moment, Gu Jing's, you said that you would marry me. Why didn't you come and marry me? You. A voice suddenly sounded at the door. Everyone was a little surprised. When he turned his head, he suddenly saw a madman. His clothes were in tatters, and he was covered in a foul stench. Wherever he went, there were people covering their noses and running away from him. Just like that, he charged in, shocking everyone. Who is that? Why did a madwoman run in? Who was she calling? Lin Che was stunned, thought that was. That Mo Huiling. Suddenly, she looked at Gu Jing's. Gu Jing's was still standing at the side, frowning and looking at her with a face full of surprise. He didn't recognize Mo Huiling because he had completely lost his memory. Mo Huiling was now crazy. However, when she saw Gu Jing's, her originally dirty eyes lit up and she immediately rushed towards him. Jing's, I knew that you still love me. This is our wedding, right? Are you going to marry me? Gu Jing's stood there, watching without moving an inch. At this moment, there was already a bodyguard who went up to stop Mo Huiling and dragged her out. However, at this moment, stop. Today is a birthday party. Why are you so violent? Shui Mingqi walked over and looked at Gu Jing's. Jing's, do you know who this is? Seeing this, Lin Che took a step forward. Just as he was about to speak, Shui Mingqi was already prepared. Lin Che, what are you doing? This is Gu Jing's business. You don't need to say anything. Shui Mingqi, what are you doing? Lin Che looked at her. Shui Mingqi snorted. Why? Do you think that Gu Jing's can't even call out this woman's name? So you want to stop him? Lin Che's eyes widened. Shui Mingqi indeed knew. Lin Che's lips curled up. What are you talking about? Shui Mingqi said, Everyone, I recently heard that Gu Jing's lost his memory. What? How is that possible? Lost his memory? It doesn't seem like it. There was an uproar in the hall. Shui Mingqi looked at Lin Che. And this woman, hiding the news of Gu Jing's memory loss, has been using the emperor to order the nobles. Now, the Gu family is no longer surnamed Gu, but Lin. Lin Che's expression changed slightly. Shui Mingqi said, Don't you think so? Lin Che said, The Gu family will still be surnamed Gu. Shui Mingqi said, It's useless for you to say all this now. I just want to ask you, did he lose his memory? Gu Jing's watched from the side. Lin Che stood with Gu Jingze. Xue Mingqi said, "It's fine if you don't say it. Let Gu Jingze tell us what this woman's name is." Lin Che said, "Now, in order to frame us, you even brought Mo Huiling to the child's birthday party." She directly called out her name. Xue Mingqi's eyes widened. "Lin Che, you called out her name on purpose." Lin Che played dumb. "Oh, why didn't I know?" Xue Mingqi narrowed her eyes. "But even if you called out her name, it only proves that you have a guilty conscience. Gu Jingze clearly lost his memory, but you actually hid it from everyone. What are you planning?" Lin Che said, "I still don't know what you're talking about. It's useless for you to play dumb now. We want you to leave the Gu family now." Chapter 1265. Lin Che was standing in the middle. She didn't know why, but she didn't have anything to fear. She just looked at these people, and her thoughts were unexpectedly calm. They were not going to do anything to Gu Jingze. They were going to drive her away. To be exact, Xue Mingqi didn't want her to do anything to the Gu Corporation. She wanted to use this opportunity to expand her reputation and power, so she was eager to drive her out of the Gu Corporation. Actually, she didn't really want to control the Gu Corporation. But Gu Jingze had lost his memory and couldn't remember some things. He didn't know what he could trust and what he couldn't, so Lin Che needed to stay by his side to help him. But if it wasn't necessary, she wouldn't stay in the Gu Corporation. Xue Mingqi looked at Lin Che. "What's wrong? You don't want to leave, do you?" Xue Mingqi said, "We don't want you to do anything to us. As long as you leave, we will believe that you didn't coerce the emperor. Otherwise, how can you prove that you are not interested in the Gu Corporation?" Lin Che looked at them silently and nodded. "Okay, I'm leaving." Xue Mingqi saw that she finally said that she was leaving. Suddenly, she relaxed a lot. Xue Mingqi said, "We are not targeting you. We just want to ensure the safety of the Gu Corporation. I hope you understand." But at this moment, that on the other side, Mo Huiling, who had just been restrained by someone, suddenly looked over and screamed, "Ah, you are Lin Che. You are Lin Che. Yes, you are Lin Che." When Mo Huiling saw the enemy she hated, she suddenly had the strength to push the people around her away and ran towards Lin Che. Her speed was very fast. She grabbed a fork from a Western-style plate and stabbed it at Lin Che. Lin Che felt a flash of cold light. The feeling of being on the verge of death was suffocating. However, at this moment, someone suddenly pulled her aside. Then, the fork made a squelching sound. Gu Jingze. President Gu. What's wrong with the master? Get this crazy woman out of here." Lin Che saw blood flowing from Gu Jingze's waist. The people around him immediately rushed over. Mo Huiling was carried out by them. Gu Jingze was surrounded and immediately covered his waist. Lin Che was so frightened that he hurriedly grabbed his hand and helped him hold the fork so that it wouldn't move. "Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze, don't scare me. Are you okay? I'll call the doctor right away." The people around him were stunned. No one moved. They just stared at Gu Jingze. Lin Che raised his head and shouted, "What are you looking at? Hurry up and get the doctor ready." Only then did everyone react. In the hospital, the doctors were treating the patients urgently. Lin Che watched from the side. He didn't even notice that half of his shawl had fallen off his shoulders. On one side, Li Mingyu walked over. He straightened her shawl. "I'm sorry." He looked at Lin Che. "I didn't notice that Mo Huiling was taken away." Lin Che looked at him. "How was she taken away?" "I haven't been in America recently." He said, "They were a little lax in their management. They only dared to tell me after she went missing for a day. When I found out, I also went looking for her everywhere. I didn't expect that she had been brought here by the Gu clan." Lin Che said, "It's not your fault. She was just a little tired." She leaned against the wall and looked inside. Li Mingyu looked at her pretty face. There was a little sadness and worry. His heart ached a little. "Lin Che, don't worry too much. I know. Gu Jingze will be fine. Yeah, he's injured too many times. I'm a little tired. I feel that every time he gets injured, I have to worry like this. It's very tiring." Li Mingyu sighed and walked over. "It's lonely at the top." Yes, it was lonely at the top. She looked at Li Mingyu calmly. That expression really made Li Mingyu suddenly feel that he could really give up the whole world for her just to get a smile from her. He said, I must get rid of this Schwemmingchi. How dare she come to my place to steal people? All right, how are you going to get rid of her? If you don't want to start a war, then don't do anything rash. He said, do I, Li Mingyu, look like someone who is afraid of war? But I am. Lin Che looked at him. I don't want to see anyone around me get injured or even die. Okay. If you don't like it, then don't do it. I won't kill her directly. I'll play with her slowly. Humph. Lin Che shook his head helplessly. This Li Mingyu. At this moment. Mr. Gu is fine. The doctor came out sweating profusely. Lin Che walked over immediately. Are his internal organs not hurt? Yes, Mr. Gu is very lucky. His liver was hurt a little, but luckily it's fine. Lin Che took a deep breath. The liver's healing ability is still very good. Don't worry. Lin Che said, where is he? He's still unconscious. Lin Che walked in and came to Gu Jing's side. He saw that white bandages were wrapped around his body. She sighed and sat down. Holding his hand, she took a deep breath. Gu Jingze, you must wake up well. At this moment, Gu Jingze slowly opened his eyes. Gu Jingze, you're awake. Lin Che. He frowned slightly. Lin Che said, yeah, I'm here. I was scared to death just now. Gu Jingze said, where is this? Where's Enlan? She drugged me. When I escaped. Phew, her people should be chasing after me. Lin Che was stunned. Enlan, what was he talking about? Lin Che came back to his senses and said in surprise, Gu Jingze, you remember. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Lin Che. Lin Che said, did you forget what happened these few days? You came back from country M a long time ago. I want to find you, and then you lost your memory. Gu Jingze's eyes paused, as if he was slowly recovering his memory. I remember now. That's right. It just felt like a dream. So it wasn't a dream. Lin Che was extremely excited. Although it wasn't a bad thing when he lost his memory, it was still something that he had lost. Now that he could suddenly remember after being stimulated, of course she was excited. Lin Che said, it's enough that you can recover. She slowly held his hand and looked at him as she said. A moment later, outside, Gu Jingze was helped out. Schwemmingchi looked at him and thought to herself that he was really lucky. Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes. Qin Hao, remove the group of security guards outside. From now on, I will personally take care of the security at home. Everyone was stunned. Gu Jingze covered his wound with one hand, and his eyes were cold. Unlike before, he was now. He was like a sword that had just been unsheathed, completely fierce. Chapter 1266. Schwemmingchi's eyes widened. Master you. Gu Jingze looked at her. Who let him Hui Ling in just now? Schwemmingchi shuddered under his gaze. Gu Jingze sneered. The security guards outside can't even handle this. They allowed a lunatic to come into our house and hurt people. Who are these security guards from? Everyone fell silent and looked at each other. This banquet was organized by the clan members. Naturally, the security guards outside were also from the clan members. At this moment, Schwemmingchi looked at him. Master, have you regained your memory? Gu Jingze looked at her. Schwemmingchi, you've put in so much effort to chase my wife out of the Gu family. You should know better than me why you're doing this. You want the position of the matriarch. Your wild ambition is clear as day. Schwemmingchi immediately said, Master, what does this have to do with me? I was just pushed by everyone to compete for the position of the matriarch. It's all because Lin Che has been spoiled by you that we don't feel safe. As a master, the first thing you should do is to increase the security of the Gu family so that we can work together. But now, because of this woman, the Gu family is in deep trouble. We want her to leave the Gu family because we're worried and afraid. Our trust in you is decreasing. I don't want the position of the matriarch. I don't want anything else, but I want Lin Che to leave all the Gu family's businesses. Everyone felt that Schwemmingchi's words made sense. Suddenly, many people started shouting, We want her to leave. That's right. We want her to leave the Gu family. Otherwise, we won't be able to accept it. We can't trust the master either. She's so biased. We can't change our minds, even if she's here. Lin Che stood at the back and looked at everyone. Slowly, he took a step forward. However, Her arm was still held down by Gu Jingze. All right, since you've all said so. Gu Jingze held Lin Shei's hand and interlocked their fingers. He lowered his head and looked at her. His eyes were full of love. He looked at her indifferently, and his fingers tightened. I'll leave the Gu family. The entire place fell silent, as if it was the end of the world. What? He'll leave the Gu family? How can he leave? Everyone looked at Gu Jingze. Jingze, don't be rash. That's right. Jingze, are you threatening us? Gu Jingze looked at everyone and said, No, I've already made up my mind. I'll withdraw from the Gu Corporation and resign from my position as the head of the family. From now on, I, Gu Jingze, have nothing to do with the Gu Corporation. Please don't disturb my wife and I anymore. Lin Shei was surprised. She looked up at Gu Jingze. His side profile was filled with determination. It was as if he had decided for a long time and would not change his mind. Lin Shei didn't know what to say. He just quietly held his hand. Gu Jingze turned to look at her and smiled. He said, I'll take away what belongs to me. I won't take anything that doesn't belong to me. From now on, Gu's has nothing to do with me. I also hope that everyone can have a meteoric rise in the future. Without me, everyone can be more united and work together. Okay, that's all I want to say. After saying this, Gu Jingze pulled Lin Shei up, turned around, and walked out. Everyone was terrified, and for a moment, they were at a loss. How could he say he didn't want it? The Gu Corporation was such a big business. Was he going to let it go just like that? Just because of a woman? Jingze, you can't just wash your hands of this. Jingze, you're too impulsive. Let's discuss this. The Gu clan members were a little flustered. After all, such a thing had never happened before. They didn't know what they should do if there was no one to be the head of the family. This kind of chaos had not happened in the Gu family for many years. They really couldn't get used to it. In particular, Gu Jingze's prestige in society and in the international arena was incomparable to anyone else's. They didn't really want Gu Jingze to give up just like that. At this moment, Xuan Mengqi stood up and said, Okay, the head of the family might be angry for a moment. Let's not be impatient about this. We'll take our time to think about it and find someone to persuade him. Hearing Xuan Mengqi's words, everyone felt that it made sense. Who would let go of the Gu family's great family business? Xuan Mengqi looked at everyone and then at Gu Jingze, who had already left. She couldn't control the thoughts in her heart anymore. When they returned to the Xue family, Xuan Mengqi hurriedly said, Father, Gu Jingze has resigned from his position as the head of the family. There's no one left to support the Gu family now. Isn't this a good opportunity? Father Xue had just heard the report from his subordinates. Father Xue said, What do you mean? You want to do it? Xuan Mengqi said, Because I'm not born in the main family. I've always felt that it's unfair. How am I inferior to those men? Why can I only be the mistress of the family and not the head of the family? Father, help me. I'll definitely be able to sit in that position. When that time comes, the Gu family will be our world, and the Gu family's surname will be Xue. Father Xue looked at Xuan Mengqi's smug expression and hesitated. He said, Mengqi, you need to know one thing. After Gu Jingze leaves, the Gu family will no longer be the same. Xuan Mengqi said, I know. Gu Jingze will naturally take away his own business, but it's still not as big as the entire Gu family's business. That's right. However, the Gu family's own business cannot be underestimated. The entire Gu family's business is the headquarters of all the Gu family members, including the 3 main families. That's why it's so big. However, the main family's business is the biggest, while the rest are scattered. That's why the Gu family's status is so high. Now that Gu Jingze has taken away a portion of it, the remaining portion is scattered, and it's not easy to manage. Xuan Mengqi said, The portion that Gu Jingze took away is only a larger portion of the Gu family's business, so it's the biggest in the entire Gu family. However, after he takes away a portion of it, it's definitely not as big as the entire Gu family's business. Therefore, we're still the biggest. Although it's scattered and difficult to manage, if someone can unify it, even though it won't be as big as the Gu family in the past, it'll still be one of the few families in the world. Therefore, why can't we give it a try? This is definitely a good opportunity. whether or not our Shui family can hold our heads high and become superior, and we don't need to look at other people's faces anymore, depends on this. Father Shui was naturally very interested in what Shui Mingqi said. Who didn't want to become superior? Shui Mingqi said, right now, the Gu family is in chaos. At this time, if I, Shui Jian, can take the lead, then the world will belong to my Shui family in the future. Shui Mingqi's father looked at Shui Mingqi and slowly clenched his fists. Success or failure depended on this. At worst, they would just fail. However, if they succeeded, as Shui Mingqi had said, the status of their family would not be the same anymore. Chapter 1267. Father Shui looked at her. Okay, go do it. Shui Mingqi's face lit up when she received her father's affirmation. At that moment, Gu Jingze divided up the Gu family's businesses and had people take away the things that belonged to the direct descendants of the Gu family. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze, watching him silently from behind. He gave orders in an orderly manner, standing in that position like a king. She had sat in that position before. She knew that it was not an exaggeration to say that sitting there was a multitude of things to deal with. Although it was a busy place with great responsibilities, it also gave people a sense of honor. Gu Jingze was born with the ability to handle so many things and manage such a huge business. He also had this responsibility. He had been recognized as the successor of the Gu family since he was young. But now he had to leave this family. Lin Che's heart ached for him, and she couldn't bear to see him leave. He should be the king here. If he were to leave just like that, he would feel terrible. Lin Che looked at him. Gu Jingze. He looked up and smiled at Lin Che. What is it? Lin Che got up and walked over. She gently supported him. Is this okay? If you leave the Gu family, your position as the patriarch. If I'm not the patriarch of the Gu family, will you still be with me? He held her hand and kissed it lightly. Lin Che said, of course I will. Am I with you because you're the patriarch? Gu Jingze smiled. So, even if I leave the Gu family, so what? If I'm not in the Gu family, so be it. It doesn't matter. Lin Che said, I don't want you to regret it in the future. I won't regret it as long as you're by my side. He smiled at her. Lin Che hugged him. Whether you're the patriarch of the Gu family or not, you'll always be the strongest person in my heart. There's nothing you can't do. There's no man in this world who can be more powerful than you. She looked at him. Even if you're no longer the ruler of this world, you're still the king in my heart. Gu Jingze looked at her, smiled, and patted her shoulder. Lin Che said, all right, do you need me to do anything? Gu Jingze said, I need you to be my wife, Lin Che. Now that I've left the Gu family, I don't have so many things to deal with. I hope we can hold our wedding. Lin Che was stunned. How long has it been? Their second child, Shi Yuan, was already 2 years old. There was no need to hold a wedding. Gu Jingze said, I've always said that I want to give you a proper wedding, but I never had the chance. Now I have the chance. We have a lot of time to plan our own wedding. I hope to give you a wedding that I can give you. It's not like the wedding of the Gu family in the past. It's the wedding of the head of the Gu family. This wedding is my wedding with you. Lin Che's heart warmed. He looked at Gu Jingze and felt touched that he was still thinking about this matter. Blushing, she said, do what you want. He kissed her forehead. I want to give you an unforgettable wedding. I will prepare this wedding well. You just need to be happy with your bride. The two of them hugged and leaned on each other. After a long time, he continued to call for people to sort out the documents. The news that Gu Jingze was going to leave the Gu family and resign from his position as the head of the family had spread in the circle. However, the Gu family had purposely blocked this news, so most people did not know about it. The Gu family was still in chaos. The family was divided into 2 factions. One faction wanted to persuade Gu Jingze to come back, while the other wanted to choose another head of the family. Although the Gu family was one and shared honor and disgrace, the family's businesses had always been managed by the family itself. It was only in principle that they had to be in line with the rest of the Gu family. So even if Gu Jingze resigned from his position, the Gu family would be without a leader, but there wouldn't be too much trouble. After Gu Jingze divided the family's businesses, the Gu family seemed a little weak. However, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. The Gu family was still the most powerful family in Country C. During the family meeting, the issue of the head of the family was brought up. Someone said, Jingza was too impulsive this time. What's the big deal if he leaves the Gu family? He used to be the most powerful person in the entire Sea Country. If he leaves the Gu family, he'll have nothing. He'll be nothing. Think about it carefully, he won't leave so easily. I think he'll come back. That's right. Does he think that our family can't survive without him? He thinks too highly of himself. Is he waiting for us to beg him to come back? That's impossible. On the contrary, if he wants to come back now, he will have to ask for our opinions. The people on the other side looked at them with disdain. They said it as if Gu Jingza would starve to death if he was alone outside. Everyone sat together and recommended someone who was suitable for the position for the time being. Among them, many of the clan members recommended Xuemingqi. After all, Xuemingqi was their representative now. Moreover, the Xue family might have secretly given them a lot of benefits. Therefore, Xuemingqi should be the one with the most support. However, because the family that wanted Gu Jingza to come back did not agree, there was no news about it. All the matters in the headquarters were now handled by several families together. It was a little chaotic. Xuemingqi was also among these families, handling the affairs in the headquarters. She looked at the office in the headquarters. It did not look that eye-catching from the outside, but it was like an underground palace on the inside. She looked at it. She wondered if it was because this place represented the highest power in the Gu family. So every corner of this place seemed to be exuding extreme nobility. She could not help but be fascinated by it, especially when she thought of how Gu Jingza used to sit in this office chair, commanding thousands of troops and horses, and how many people in the Gu family worked hard to carry out his orders. That was really something to look forward to. She seemed to be eager to ascend to that position and make everyone in the Gu family bow down to her. That feeling of being an emperor was really satisfying to her. In the future, would her name, Xuemingqi, be spread in the business world, just like the rumors about Gu Jingza? Would there be many people who would tremble in fear when they heard her name? Would there be people who would say that she was cruel and merciless, but they could not help but be subdued by her power? Thinking of how Gu Jingza was like this in the past, she felt that she would be like this when she sat in this position. Chapter 1268. Xuemingqi looked at the security guards outside. After Gu Jingza withdrew his own security guards, they were all new. They were hired by the Gu family and were not familiar with the place, so they looked more immature than the previous security guards in the headquarters. However, some of them were also here. In the past, Gu Jingza's security guards were not the only ones in the headquarters. There were also some security guards left by the Gu family. However, because they were on the Gu family side, Gu Jingza could not take them away. They could only watch Gu Jingza leave, which made them feel a little awkward. After all, they were the people who had protected Gu Jingza in the past. Now that Gu Jingza had left, they were not welcomed by the Gu family because they had protected Gu Jingza. They must have suspected that these people were already loyal to Gu Jingza, and Gu Jingza would never take them away because they were on the Gu family side. So, looking at these new people, they couldn't help but feel that they were childish. When Gu Jingza was still here, they were not qualified to enter the headquarters. But now, the Gu family was short of people, so some of them who had just finished their training were sent here. Xuemingqi looked at them and called these old people in. She had long wanted to have her own bodyguards, but they were not qualified. In the past, when she saw Gu Jingza's bodyguards were so powerful, absolutely loyal, and put their master first wherever they went, she was extremely jealous. But at that time, if she had said that she wanted bodyguards, she would have become a laughing stock. The Gu family would not have trained bodyguards for them, and it would have exposed her ambition. So, Xuemingqi could only envy them in her heart, and did not dare to say anything. But now it was different. Gu Jingza had left, and she could definitely ask the Gu family to manage the headquarters. So, she immediately looked at the security guards in the house, but found that none of them could compare to Gu Jingza's bodyguards, be it in ability or experience. This kind of bodyguard was just a bodyguard in name. It was no different from ordinary security guards. She looked at them again and again, and still felt that the security guards in the headquarters were the best. She also understood that the people chosen by Gu Jingze were definitely different from the others. They must have been selected after many rounds of selection, and naturally, they were much better than the others. She quickly called everyone into the office and said with a smile, "Congratulations. I'm telling you now that you become bodyguards. From now on, you're no longer ordinary security guards. You have your own organization, your own responsibilities, and your own missions." In the Gu family, becoming a bodyguard was a great honor. This was because only the strongest people were at the peak of their training and practical operations. That was why he was chosen to be a bodyguard. Becoming a bodyguard also meant that you were the strongest. So when she said that she wanted them to be her bodyguards, she directly said, "Congratulations." However, the people in front of him looked at each other without any joy on their faces. There was no reaction at all. Shuimingqi said, "What? Don't you want this kind of glory?" However, looking at the arrogant Shuimingqi, everyone's faces were filled with disdain. "Miss Shui, whose bodyguards are we? The Gu clan no longer has a clan leader." Shuimingqi said, "There is no patriarch now, but there will be one in the future. Then let's wait until we have chosen a family head in the future." Shuimingqi's expression changed. "What do you mean by this?" The person in front said, "Bodyguards serve the clan leader and the person whom the clan leader has ordered. After coming out of the training camp, the first master that follows is the master for life. We don't have a clan leader now, and we didn't just come out of the training camp, so we're not suitable." Shuimingqi said, "Those rules are set by people, so naturally they can be changed by people. Then what's the point? You can just order us to be security guards." This kind of bodyguard was no longer the strongest bodyguard in the past. Shuimingqi looked at these people and could clearly feel that their attitude towards her was clearly filled with disdain. They didn't have that much respect at all. Shuimingqi slammed the table. "You guys look clearly. Right now, the Gu clan has no clan leader, but we are still your masters. The Gu clan has not dispersed, and I, Shuimingqi, am also one of the current leaders." They snorted, "But you're not Mr. Gu. You guys don't want to do it anymore, do you? This kind of place isn't suitable for us to stay," he said. Shuimingqi's face was livid. She couldn't believe that they would roll their eyes at her when she offered to promote them out of goodwill, especially since she wasn't the only one with such an expression. Almost everyone else had the same expression. They all said one after another, "That's right. Not Mr. Gu. The people outside are all sissies who have just come out of the training camp. It's too boring. Such weak people have the nerve to come to the headquarters. The headquarters is no longer the headquarters of the past. That's right. There's no point for us to stay here anymore. Let's just resign and go look for Mr. Gu." "All right, let's go look for Mr. Gu." The group of people started to make a ruckus. Shuimingqi was really shocked. Not to mention the other things. Just the remuneration alone was extremely attractive, and they actually wanted to resign to look for Gu Jingze. Was there something wrong with them? "Sai, you guys." Shuimingqi clenched her teeth. All right, you guys go and look for Gu Jingze. He's not the Gu Jingze of the past anymore. He's no longer the Gu clan's clan master. He's just an ordinary rich man. Compared to the Gu clan, he's nothing. In the future, the Gu clan will definitely target him and squeeze out all that he is now. If you guys go with him, don't even think about having the honor and rewards you have here anymore. When the time comes, you'll all be left with nothing." The few of them snorted and looked at Shuimingqi. "We'd be willing to starve if we were to follow Mr. Gu." "Exactly. Who do you think Mr. Gu is? Do you think everyone can become Gu Jingze? It's you idiots. If there's someone stronger than Mr. Gu, I'd have to kneel before him. All of you together can't even compare to Mr. Gu, yet you still want to fight against him." As they spoke, they took off their uniforms and badges and threw them aside. Without Mr. Gu, the Gu family's badges are useless. They threw them down and walked out. Shuimingqi was left behind, looking coldly at the badges and clothes on the ground. She was so angry that her whole body was trembling. Gu Jingze had nothing to do at home. After leaving the Gu family, he accompanied Lin Che to her company. Lin Che said, There's nothing wrong with the game now, but I almost got into a lawsuit. Gu Jingzi said, with your intelligence, it's possible that you didn't think too much. Chapter 1269. Fuck, it's Xue Mingqi who's too scheming. Gu Jingzi smirked and shook his head. Lin Che introduced the place to Gu Jingzi as he walked in. This is the office area, that's the technical area, and this is the copywriting area. Looks like there are quite a lot of people here. Yeah, at first it was just our own studio with just a few people. Later on, we needed more people, so we hired more people. Recently, Gu Jingzi had lost his memory, so he didn't mention some things to her. When Lin Che started a company in the past, he often gave her a lot of suggestions. Whenever she was free, she would ask Gu Jingzi at home, and he would enlighten her. It could be said that the success of the game was inseparable from Gu Jingzi's help. However, after Gu Jingzi lost his memory, he didn't remember that she started a company, so he naturally wouldn't ask her about these things. In the meantime, the number of people in the company increased. This time, they hired quite a number of new people to help with copywriting and technical work. The original studio was also divided into a few departments. Among them, KG was the technical director. Now, everyone called him CEO K. Crooked Neck was the team leader, and he was also in charge of some other business. Seeing Lin Che and Gu Jingzi walk in, although everyone was curious as to who that person was, they didn't dare to ask. They only felt that with his outstanding looks, he might be in the same industry as Lin Che. Then he would definitely become famous in the future. Looking at him, he was so good-looking that it took one's breath away. Only inside, Crooked Neck looked up. When he saw Gu Jingzi, he knocked over the cup in his hand. His roommate, who was also a technical supervisor, exclaimed, "Fuck, I just wrote the code. If you break the computer, I'll definitely eat you up." "Fuck, I just wrote the code." Crooked Neck said, "What code? Really, look who's here." Crooked Neck hurriedly cleared his throat and stood up. Only then did the people at the side see that Lin Che had brought someone over. But who is this person? Who is it? Who is it? Get lost. It's the Almighty anyway. Move aside. Crooked Neck hurriedly walked over. "Sister Che, this must be brother-in-law." This was brother-in-law. How affectionate. Lin Che almost spat out her saliva. She looked at Gu Jingzi, who didn't have any reaction at all. He seemed to be enjoying being called brother-in-law. Although his face was still expressionless, there was a hint of gentleness in his eyes. She knew it was a sign that he was in a good mood. Lin Che glared at the Crooked Neck. However, Crooked Neck was in a very good mood. Calling Gu Jingzi brother-in-law was a title that many people were jealous of. He never thought that he would have such a day. "This way, please, brother-in-law." Sister Che has a blissful look on her face every day when you're mentioned. "I'm so envious. I finally got to see brother-in-law in person today. Is brother-in-law here to help Sister Che inspect?" Gu Jingzi looked at Lin Che, and Lin Che quickly lowered his head. He really wanted to say that this Crooked Neck was really a daily bootlicker. He was too used to it. When did she bring it up every day? She clearly didn't mention it. Gu Jingzi curled up the corner of his lips. He knew his wife very well. Lin Che wasn't the type of person who would mention him for no reason. On the contrary, because she was worried that it would affect him negatively, she almost never mentioned her husband. She had always been independent and didn't act like a little woman outside. However, he didn't expose Crooked Neck's bootlicker. He only smiled and looked at the guilty Lin Che. Lin Che said, "All right, Crooked Neck, stop talking nonsense." She patted Crooked Neck's arm and chuckled. "I'm so excited to see brother-in-law, aren't I?" Gu Jingzi looked inside and said, "Looks like it's developing well." This not bad was really against his will. Lin Che thought. In the Gu Corporation's building, there were more than 100 people in a department, and their small studio didn't even have 100 people. This office was also an ordinary simple office. It couldn't be compared to the Gu Corporation's completely modern office, which looked very high-end everywhere. However, they were very satisfied here, especially Crooked Neck and the others. Now that they had their own office, they could work independently and didn't have to squeeze behind a small desk to write code. If they wanted to eat, there would be someone to cook in the small kitchen at the back. Downstairs of the company was the cafeteria, and there would be someone to prepare food for them at any time. It wasn't like the past when they were in the school dormitory, writing code until late at night, and only eating instant noodles to appease their hunger. So they were very satisfied now. Crooked Neck said, Sister Che's arrangements are very good. These are all done by Sister Che. We're enjoying life with Sister Che. Lin Che glared at him. You're flattering me again. Crooked Neck said, Am I serious? Sister Che, look, we all have our own employees now, not to mention KG. He's even the director now. But I think he's not used to being called Boss K. When people call him that, he hides inside to write code. TSK, TSK. But among us, he's the only one who likes an independent office the most. Look, he hides inside every day. Lin Che saw that he was still in the office outside. There was an office inside, but he didn't go in, so he asked him, Why don't you go to the office inside? Crooked Neck said, We prefer to be noisy outside. If it's too quiet inside, we won't be able to write. It's good for everyone to write code and talk to each other. There's only one person inside, and we don't know what to say after writing for a while. We're not KG, who likes to be alone and not talk. Lin Che couldn't help but laugh when he heard that. He still liked how real they were, without any pretense. They were so noisy, but they had a good relationship instead. Just then, they walked towards KG's office. Opening the door, Crooked Neck immediately said, KG boss, look who's here. KG turned around. When he saw Gu Jingze, his gaze paused for a moment. Then, his gaze shifted to Lin Che, who was beside him. His gaze swept from Lin Che to Gu Jingze. The look in his eyes changed before he stood up. Crooked Neck was still saying, Mr. Gu's visit to our office really brings light to our humble dwelling. I saw those young ladies looking over here just now. Look, once Mr. Gu came, the young ladies in the office didn't even look at me anymore. They used to be my loyal supporters, but now they can't. I think their eyes are about to fly over to me. Gu Jingze smiled and didn't say a word, listening to Crooked Neck ramble on. KG stared at Gu Jingze. Mr. Gu. Gu Jingze also looked at KG. For a moment, he didn't know how far the two of them had gone through their eyes, nor did he know what kind of information they had exchanged. In any case, these gazes felt weird to Lin Che. Chapter 1270. After that, KG said, I was still coding and didn't go out to welcome you. Forgive me. Gu Jingze looked at his computer. The game was still playing on the screen. He said, Yeah, the game is pretty good. KG said, Thank you. It's all thanks to Lin Che. Gu Jingze said, Not really. She actually doesn't know anything. She always praises me at home. It's all you guys who help her a lot. How can that be? Lin Che is very smart. It's just that she doesn't have the energy to do research. Lin Che said, Yes. I'm very smart now. Look, I'm always using my main account in the game. It's really awkward and my rank is really high. Gu Jingze looked at her. Are you sure that they didn't give you a lot of internal resources that allowed you to rise so easily? Ahem. Crooked Neck sighed. He was right. Every time Lin Che lost in the game, she would say on WeChat, Crooked Neck, I dropped a rank. Hurry up and rise up. I won't do it. The opponent killed me so easily just now. It must be a bug. Then, Crooked Neck could only help her secretly do some data in the game, and she slowly rose up. It could only be said that Gu Jingze understood Lin Che too well. Crooked Neck said, Not really. Sister Che is pretty good. She even won a few team battles when we were together. But the classmate at the side didn't give her any face and said, That's because KG is so good. He led 4 people and beat the opponent until they couldn't even tell north from north. Crooked Neck said, That's also because of Sister Che's cooperation. Sister Che is actually more suitable as a support. With Sister Che and KG's tacit cooperation, they won so easily. Speaking of this, the classmate agreed. Yeah, Sister Che and KG's cooperation is really good. The main thing is that KG's awareness is on point. As soon as Sister Che went over, he knew what she meant and was able to cooperate immediately. That's true. KG is so smart. His hand speed is fast and his judgment is accurate. He would definitely be able to win in an international tournament, let alone a team battle in the game. Gu Jingzi said at the side, "Oh, you guys often play with Lin Che." That's right, that's right. Sister Che is super good at scamming people. Crooked Neck became excited as he spoke. The moment he started to criticize Lin Che, he couldn't control himself. However, he didn't notice that Gu Jingzi, who was at the side, had already activated his vinegar jar mode and was staring at Crooked Neck. Although there was nothing wrong with his expression, his gaze was already filled with jealousy. Seeing that things weren't looking good, Lin Che forcefully winked and signaled to Crooked Neck to stop talking. But how could Crooked Neck see it? In the beginning, it was even worse. She was always asking King to save her. Whenever she was free, I would hear her shouting from the other end of the mic, saying, "King, come and save me, Almighty, come and save me, Almighty, I'm being surrounded." Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. Seeing that Gu Jingzi's eyes were getting darker and darker, Lin Che began to pray in his heart. Don't blow up, don't flare up here. Fortunately, Gu Jingzi didn't seem to have any intention of saying that. He just looked at KG and said, "Is that so? Actually, I've done some research on games." KG said, "Oh, Mr. Gu also plays this game?" Gu Jingzi said, "Since it's Lin Che's game, I'll definitely support you." "Is that so? How's Mr. Gu playing?" KG asked. Gu Jingzi said, "I'm not sure either. I haven't played in a while. There's a computer here. Why don't I ask you for some advice?" Was Lin Che the only one who could sense the undisguised, murderous intent in Gu Jingzi's eyes? She felt that he didn't want to play games, but that he wanted to go in and pretend to kill someone. However, no one could hear the cries in her heart. Crooked Neck was still saying excitedly, "Of course, our company doesn't have many things, but we do have a lot of computers. Mr. Gu, if you want to come and play, that's great. You can see our KG skills. It's so awesome." Gu Jingzi's lips curled up a little. "Sure," Lin Che hurriedly said. "Gu Jingzi, you play this game. You don't have an account, right? Why don't you use my account?" Lin Che leaned over to fawn over him. She only hoped that he wouldn't be angry and wouldn't vent his anger on her later. Gu Jingzi obviously knew what she was thinking. He glanced at her and said, "It's okay, I have an account. Just sit here quietly. We'll talk about our problems when we get home." It was over. She would definitely be scolded when she got home. She turned around and glared at Crooked Neck. Why'd he always cause trouble for her? Crooked Neck didn't know that Gu Jingzi was famous for being a vinegar jar, so he didn't know what he had said wrong. He was still a little dumbfounded after being glared at. Come, Mr. Gu, sit here. I'll let you use my computer. It's newly installed and will definitely be easy to use in games." Their computers were all assembled by themselves and had extremely powerful functions. Lin Che had tried it, and it was indeed much better than the branded computers that they sold. He didn't know what kind of brains they had to be so good at using computers. Gu Jingzi thanked him lightly and sat down opposite KG. This way, he couldn't see the other party's computer screen and could only see his face. KG took a look at Gu Jingzi and turned on the game on the computer with practiced ease. Meanwhile, Gu Jingzi also turned on his computer. Lin Che hurriedly moved behind Gu Jingzi and looked at him in a flattering manner. Gu Jingzi couldn't be bothered with her. He turned on the computer and entered the password. Lin Che was stunned. Sigh, this wasn't the account that Lin Che had given him in the past. When did he activate it? When did he go in and play? While Lin Che was in a daze, she saw that Gu Jingzi's game was already online. She looked at the rank. Fuck, when did he rise to the first rank? Ascension? This was definitely the highest rank in the game. There weren't many people above it. Then she looked at Gu Jingzi's name. It was really boring. It was just a symbol. X. Lin Che usually didn't pay attention to the ranking, but she saw that Gu Jingzi's name was actually on the regional ranking. It was a comprehensive ranking. Wealth, martial arts, and PK were all included. Gu Jingzi was already in the top 10. Because the top few were especially outstanding, they were mentioned in the regional ranking. Therefore, the X behind them wasn't that famous. But Lin Che had never known that this low-profile X was Gu Jingzi. But now that he was on this account, she felt that this was in line with Gu Jingzi's style, be it from a name or the low profile he had in the past. He didn't join any gangs or organizations. He just wandered around on his own. He was indeed Gu Jingze. On the other side, Crooked Neck was also stunned. He looked at Gu Jingze and thought, this high-level player that I've always wanted to contact but couldn't turns out to be Gu Jingze? Chapter 1271. Because they would usually contact some strong players, organize events, do interviews, and make these players look like celebrities. Other people liked to watch these people because of the celebrity effect. They also wanted to find time to organize competitions, so they were very interested in these teams. Among them, X, who was a loner, was one of them. However, he left too little information. The registered information was someone else's, and his phone could never be reached, so they couldn't contact him. They didn't expect that a big shot like Gu Jingze was also secretly playing their game. This kind of feeling really made people feel a sense of honor. She tilted her head and looked at Gu Jingze. Oh, you're an old player. Gu Jingze said, I don't have much time to play, so I'm a little rusty. He didn't have much time to play, but he was still so good at it that Lin Che thought, could he not act cool out of habit? Although he was. Of course she knew that he didn't have much time to play. There were too many things to do every day, so he must be very busy, but to be able to play so well in such a small amount of time, he must be very good. Therefore, Gu Jingze's pretentiousness was convincing. If a person was fooled by others after acting pretentiously, it could be said that he had slapped himself in the face. This kind of person was always annoying. However, when Gu Jingze really acted pretentiously, it was impossible for others to hate him, because when he acted pretentiously, he would always be able to act well. In the end, he would always be able to do what he said, so people would always admire him. Lin Che saw that KG had arrived at the location of the competition. Gu Jingze also found his address and flew there directly. Others could also watch the competition. The two of them flew to the edge of the cliff. Behind them was the golden sunset. Gu Jingze was dressed in black. Because he was an assassin, he looked very nimble. And KG was a typical warrior. He was dressed in a long white robe that fluttered behind him. He looked very upright and upright. The two of them stood there, the top accounts with the special PK win rate symbol. In an instant, they attracted the attention of the people who were playing PK. Everyone immediately realized who this person was. Look, it's KG. That main account over there seems to be on the leaderboards, but I've never seen him come out. That's right, that's right. Isn't King the one who takes Gu Jingyu out to play whenever he's free? He's so awesome. X's win rate is so high. 99%, and he didn't join any clan. Winning percentage doesn't mean much. Maybe the number of matches he's played is less. How is that possible? Look at him. He has already won more than 1,000 matches. Fuck, so awesome. Everyone spoke one after another, making the surrounding atmosphere even more tense all of a sudden. The two of them seemed to be evenly matched, and no one could tell who would win. KG made the first move. Gu Jingze, who was still waving his arms, turned around and disappeared. The assassin's skills were more wretched. They were usually sudden assault and flash, which allowed them to suddenly appear in front of their target. These kinds of skills were common. KG, on the other hand, had already predicted X's position and turned around to defend. X did not linger and left after a short fight. Wow, he's so fast. King's prediction is so good. In the past, when they fought together, it was as if he knew exactly what the other was going to do. It wasn't easy to fight, and assassins have always been a bit fragile. But look, X's technique is really fast. Even though he didn't predict it, he can still take a bit of KG's HP. But KG has a healing skill. The two of them started probing each other, but slowly, the fight became more and more intense. KG found X's fighting style, but just as he was about to come over, X had already changed to another style. The two of them fought more and more intensely, and in an instant, more and more people gathered around them. Someone even sent a message on the World Channel. Quick, come and see, the two gods are fighting. Yeah, it's the Horizon Arena. Quick, come and see, the two gods are fighting. That's a rare technique. Come and see how the gods take someone away. Look at the god's movements, it's really blinding. On the other side, the two of them were already entangled. There were more and more people watching, but they couldn't disturb the movements of the two of them at all. What they couldn't see was that on this side, the two of them had serious expressions. They were facing each other, but they didn't have time to look at each other. They only looked at the controls in their hands, typing furiously on the mouse and keyboard. On the other side, Crooked Neck was already dumbfounded. Watching from here, he felt that it was even more amazing. He understood KG. He knew that KG's prediction was really good, and his hand speed was also very fast. But Gu Jingze was able to crack it every time, and he could even catch him off guard, making it difficult for KG. After all, KG made this game, and he was also a hacker for many years. His hand speed wasn't something that others could compare to. But Gu Jingze was just a businessman that Crooked Neck was dazzled by the scene, and he couldn't help but admire him. No wonder Gu Jingze was so strong. With such a strong mentality, this method of guessing other people's thoughts, every time he probed, he did it with a purpose. It wasn't a waste of energy. However, at this moment, someone suddenly ran in from outside. Director K, look, there's a bug here. I just said that someone couldn't get into the phone app. Look, KG, turn around. Can't get in. This was a big bug, with a problem suddenly appearing. KG was also distracted for a moment. Hence, on the other side, when Gu Jingze went up to him with a cold knife and took a large chunk of his HP, he didn't even realize it. By the time he came back to his senses, it was already too late. Gu Jingze went up and took the hit. He didn't need to dodge anymore, and his HP wasn't enough. In the end, it was naturally Gu Jingze who swept him to the ground. Crooked Neck was stunned for a long time. He looked at KG lying on the ground and stared at him for a long time. KG also looked at him. After a while, he raised his head and said, "Okay, I lost." Gu Jingze had already stood up. "No, you were distracted," KG said. "A loss is a loss. There's no reason for it." KG was also a free and easy person. He stood up and said that before turning off the computer. When Crooked Neck saw that KG didn't have any reaction and didn't seem to be angry, he heaved a sigh of relief. It's just a spar, just a spar. But Mr. Gu, you're really amazing. I really admire you. In all these years, besides Big Boss, I haven't admired anyone else. Right now, I really, really admire you. Chapter 1272. Lin Che thought to himself, "What's there to admire? He's just jealous and wants to win no matter what to prove himself." She knew Gu Jingze very well in this aspect. Here, he was just a kid who wanted to prove that he was better than others no matter what. However, at this moment, the game immediately sent out a message. Some people saw that the duel had ended and felt that it was not over yet. They said that it had been a long time since they had seen such an exciting duel. They were evenly matched, and it all depended on who could last longer and who was more patient. There were even people who directly posted this video on the forum. Those who had the ability and could understand it went over to analyze it, and those who didn't understand it immediately saw the ingenious ideas behind each of the two's moves. They didn't expect that a single move could be so profound. The onlookers thought that it was very classy. The video was posted on Weibo, and the popular title was "The Almighty Shows You What Is Godly Positioning." In an instant, the video went viral. Once the video went viral, many people came to register to play the game. The game became even more popular. There were even people who came to the company to see if they could organize a national or international league based on this game, so that they could promote it. Of course, this was a story for later. After Gu Jingze won, he stood up as light as a feather. He asked KG and the others to deal with the bug, and he walked around the company with Lin Che. Lin Che said, "How is it?" Gu Jingze said, "It's good enough to have such progress." That's right, that's right. Don't you see who's giving us guidance? I'm completely following the route we discussed back then. Lin Che was still trying to please him. Gu Jingze looked at her and didn't expose her childish bootlicking skills. He smiled faintly and said, "What's wrong with KG?" Lin Che said, "Hee, they're just kids. They're just fooling around." Gu Jingze didn't think so. He lowered his head and held Lin Che's hand. holding her back as he quietly stared at her adorable face. KG may be young, but you have good taste, he said lightly as he looked at her. Why did Lin Che feel like he didn't know if this was the truth or a lie? She said, No, he's too young. He doesn't know anything. Really, he's especially impulsive. I don't know how much I worry about him, but he only knows how to cause trouble for me. In the end, Lin Che decided that it would be better to say more bad things about him. Gu Jingze snorted, but still did not expose her. After all, Gu Jingze was already used to her attraction. Her charm, at times, made him feel very proud, but at other times he felt that it was a little troublesome. He felt that he had to continuously become stronger in order to repel those pursuers and protect Lin Che. This sense of crisis made him feel very helpless at times. At this time, hey, Gu Jingze, you came to our company without telling us. Really, I didn't send a sedan chair to welcome you. Is it really not in line with your identity? I'm so ashamed. Li Mingyu came. Gu Jingze turned around and saw Li Mingyu running towards him. Lin Che's eyes widened as he panicked for a moment. What was this troublemaker doing here? Gu Jingze said, There's no need. I'm just here to take a look at Lin Che's company. Hey, Lin Che is in our company. I'm sure I'll take good care of him. Li Mingyu chuckled, but it gave Lin Che the feeling that there was a dagger hidden behind his smile. Li Mingyu said, How is it? You've seen it, right? The company is not bad, right? Yeah, it's not bad. Of course. Don't you see how good my taste is? I saw Lin Che's ability and made a prompt decision to invest in him. After many times of friction, we finally decided on what game to make. In the end, we established this studio, and it became the most popular casual game nowadays. Our tacit understanding has allowed this game to become more and more influential. I'm sure that in the future, as the two of us become more familiar with each other, this game will definitely flourish. Duh. Lin Che knew it. Gu Jingze smiled, but didn't say anything. He looked at Li Mingyu exaggeratedly talking about his collaboration with Lin Che. Li Mingyu was filled with pride. At first, he thought that it was just a small investment. He didn't care what Lin Che did. He didn't expect that the influence of the game was getting bigger and bigger. Especially nowadays, the influence of the game was much stronger than other things. Now, the other industries of the company could cooperate with this game and continue to rely on the game to promote it. Although Li Mingyu never cared about what others thought of him when he invested, he felt very happy when he saw the people in the board of directors trying to delay him but didn't dare to do so. Later on, they started to admire his foresight. Of course, it was Lin Che's contribution that was the biggest. It was all because she had persisted in her own path. No matter how difficult it was for others, she still created such a game. Li Mingyu said, Do you know how many downloads there are in the world now? I'm not trying to brag, but I play it every time I see someone on the streets. Oh, right, you're not the master of the Gu family anymore. I just remembered that the Gu family really had no foresight to let you out. TSK, you have to believe in my foresight. I have high hopes for you. Otherwise, if you have nowhere to go in the future, why don't you come to my company? I'll make you the CEO of the head office. You'll only have less authority than me. Hee. In the past, when Gu Jingze was the master of the Gu family, Li Mingyu didn't dare to underestimate the power of the entire Gu family. But now, Gu Jingze came out alone. Although he still had his own power, it couldn't be compared to the past. Gu Jingze didn't say anything. He slowly hugged Li Mingyu and said, It's okay. I've decided to live off a woman in the future. I won't work anymore. Lin Che raised his head. He felt that Li Mingyu had already pulled him into his arms and pressed her against his chest. Li Mingyu didn't even need to say another word to make Li Mingyu spit out a mouthful of blood. Live off a woman? Gu Jingze said, Anyway, my wife is very capable. I don't have to work. I can stay at home and take care of the child. I don't think I'll starve to death. Li Mingyu was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He watched as Gu Jingze lowered his head to look at Lin Che affectionately. His gaze was filled with love, as if he was sending all of his affection into her eyes. Outsiders, especially a single dog like him, were directly tortured to death by his gaze. Gu Jingze said, Since I happen to meet you, I have something to tell you. We'll be holding a wedding next week. I'll get someone to send the invitation to you later. You've been taking good care of my wife recently. Of course, I'll invite you to our wedding. Chapter 1273. Another 10,000 points of critical hit. Lin Che listened on the side. He was in awe of Gu Jingze. It didn't matter how he provoked him. He had already angered the other party to death without making a sound. Li Mingyu knew that Gu Jingze had never married Lin Che in the past. Although they had been married for many years, they never had a wedding. Giving Lin Che a wedding was probably a token of Gu Jingze's sincerity. Li Mingyu was actually very envious of Gu Jingze. Whatever he wanted to give her, it was all fair and square. As for himself, he actually wanted Lin Che to be happy too, but he could only watch from the side. However, he was already very satisfied to see Lin Che's happiness. He never thought that he could make someone happy too, even though that happiness might not be because of him. After a while, Li Mingyu sent Lin Che a message. I want to give you something for your wedding. Lin Che replied, No need. We're on the same side. You don't have to be so polite. Oh, okay. I'll give it to you next time. Lin Che scolded. You're the next time. You're such a person. I said I'd give it to you, but you don't want it. Lin Che said, I wanted to be polite with you, but since you're so impolite, I won't be polite either. Give it to me. I'll take whatever you give me. Okay, I'll send it to you tomorrow. Lin Che looked at Li Mingyu's reply and shook his head. Gu Jingze asked, What are you talking about? Lin Che said, Oh, he said he's going to give me a gift. Really? Looks like it's worth looking forward to. It should be a small gift to congratulate me on my wedding. Gu Jingze didn't think so. He smiled and hugged Lin Che. Let's go look at the gown tomorrow. Gown? It doesn't have to be too grand, right? It's not grand, but I hope you can dress beautifully and be my perfect bride. Lin Che smiled and leaned into his embrace. For a moment, he felt that leaving the Gu family might be a good thing. Their lives could be much simpler. In the past, even when they were leaning on each other, they would still feel a little worried. But now, they felt much more relaxed. The next day, Lin Che first went to the place where the gowns were custom-made. It wasn't a shop, but a beautiful villa. A few people were already waiting inside. When they saw Lin Che enter, they smiled and said, Mrs. Gu, this is a custom-made suit from Mr. Gu. It was made according to your measurements, but you haven't tried it on yet. It was just shipped over from Paris. Please try it on first, and then we'll see if there's anything that needs to be modified. Lin Che said, You've already done it before? I didn't know. Yes, Mr. Gu has been customizing it for several months. Because it's handmade, it's just finished. Lin Che stared blankly for a moment. His heart warmed as he thought. Has he been thinking about this matter for a few months? He didn't even tell her. Lin Che said, Where are the clothes? It's inside. Because it's more delicate, we don't dare to hang it outside casually. If a piece is damaged, we can't afford it. Mrs. Gu, please wait a moment, the shop assistant said with a smile. All right, you guys go and push it. After a while, a few people pushed the clothes out. The clothes were placed under a white curtain, and after pulling it open, the long dress hanging inside could be seen. The glittering dress seemed to reflect colorful rays under the sunlight. However, when the back was against the light, it was pure white. If one took a closer look, they would see that it was a long dress with a bare back and a long tail. The tail was like a mermaid's and looked very elegant. There were countless diamonds on it, making people feel that each piece was exquisite and dynamic. That was why it looked so vivid. Even though it was hanging there, it didn't look rigid. Lin Che said, Wow. The shop assistant said with a smile, Mr. Gu spent a lot of effort to design and make this. Madam, you could try it on. There's so many diamonds. I don't dare to wear it. Madam, don't worry. We'll hold it back. That's right. We're the ones worried. Madam, even if you break it, sir won't say anything. He's so good to you, and he dotes on you. Lin Che covered her mouth and looked at it with a sigh. She really felt that she was afraid of breaking it. Is this very expensive? Yes, this was specially designed for you by the most famous designer in Paris, Slater. Mr. Slater is the exclusive designer of a big brand. Usually, he doesn't design for anyone, but for Mr. Gu's sake, he designed this dress for your wedding. Needless to say, this dress was personally made by Master Slater in his studio. He wanted every detail to be perfect. It fits your figure the best, so you can see that even inside, every line is absolutely perfect. There are no flaws. Lin Che didn't dare to wear it. The shop assistant said, "This was specially prepared by Mr. Gu for you. Don't you want to try it on?" Yes, he had prepared it for her. Lin Che took a deep breath. "All right, put it on." The three shop assistants helped her put it on carefully, holding the back carefully. It was only after she put it on that she could feel that her back was bare. There was a string of diamonds that slid coolly down her back, and the feeling was very strong. The waist was very suitable. Indeed, there was not a single line. It didn't fit her figure at all. It was heavy, but it didn't make her feel tired. It seemed that the material of the dress was carefully made. The shop assistant looked at Lin Che and exclaimed, "This is indeed Master Slater's work. Really, you look like you're alive in it." Lin Che blushed. "You really know how to talk." The shop assistant smiled sincerely. "Madam, I'm telling the truth. Master Slater made this dress based on your photo. The dress that he made is definitely the most suitable for you. I can't feel it when it's hanging there, but when you put it on, I feel that you're like a goddess. You're so beautiful." Lin Che blushed from the compliments. Looking at herself in the mirror, she couldn't see anything. The shop assistant exclaimed, "You're definitely the most beautiful bride in the world." "All right, I'm really scared now that you're acting like this," Lin Che said with a smile. "We're really stunned by Madam. Madam, your figure is really good. It's really beautiful. It's not the kind of figure that's so thin that it makes people sigh. It's a little plump, but it's not cumbersome at all. Aya, this figure's really beautiful." Lin Che was really intoxicated by their words. "We're really looking forward to it. When you wear this and stand next to Sir at your wedding, it must be like a story. It's so perfect." Chapter 1274. Lin Che thought that the dress was quite nice. He could tell that the designer had put in a lot of effort into it, and it was very comfortable to wear. Originally, it was very tiring to wear these gowns, and people were always worried that there would be problems with the clothes, or that the clothes would fall off, or that the clothes would be crooked, etc. However, at this time, there was no such worry at all. The clothes just felt like they were fitting, and there was no worry that they would be deformed. Everyone looked at Lin Che in admiration. They felt that Lin Che was indeed a superstar. He looked so good in the gowns. Lin Che took off the gown carefully. "Is there anything else that needs to be changed?" No. We all think that you're perfect in the gown. We don't need to change anything." "Really? Put away for now." "Yes, we'll guard the gown well tonight. We'll make sure that there won't be any problems on the wedding day." "No need. You're too troublesome." "Of course. The diamonds on it are priceless. We've already sent all the security guards to guard it, in case anything happens." Lin Che didn't expect that a wedding could be so troublesome. "Oh my God, Gu Jingze is so troublesome. It's because Sir dotes on you too much. He wants to give you the most perfect wedding. Moreover, madam, you're so beautiful. You're really a good match with this dress." Lin Che smiled as he took off the gown and put it away. The news of the wedding soon reached the ears of the Gu family. The Gu family was depressed. Without Gu Jingze, many people want to be the head of the family after the reshuffle, so the family was in a mess. However, after Gu Jingze was gone, everyone looked at the Gu family's business and felt proud. The Gu family was really powerful. Even though Gu Jingze had taken away part of the business, they could still become the most powerful family in Country C. That was why everyone wanted to be the head of the family. Once one became the head of the family, he would be the most powerful person in Country C. The Gu family looked at the invitation and snorted. Gu Jingze is so free. He even wants to hold a wedding. Anyway, let's do it now. When he was the head of the family, we still had to control him. Now, who cares about him? I want to see how he will regret leaving the Gu family for that woman. That's right. Once he leaves the Gu clan, no one will care about his wedding. After all, he is no longer the head of the Gu clan. No one will care if he gets married or not, or who he plans to marry. The wedding was held on an island. In fact, not many people received invitations. Only some of the more noble families could receive invitations. However, The news that Gu Jingze was going to hold a wedding soon spread throughout the rich circle. The wedding day soon arrived. Lin Shay arrived at the place of the wedding one day in advance. When she arrived, she rested in the villa, doing facial masks and body exercises. Many people came to help, so Lin Shay didn't need to care about other things. Needless to say, Gu Jingze didn't want her to care about these things either. He just wanted her to be his most beautiful bride with peace of mind. On this day, Suitsun arrived with Han Qingjin early in the morning. After entering the villa, Suitsun naturally wanted to accompany her daughter. She saw that Lin Shay was still doing the incense. His skin, which had been specially maintained for the past 2 days, looked even more delicate. Suitsun walked over and said, "Xiao Che, you're so beautiful." Lin Shay smiled at Suitsun and said, "Mom, are you complimenting yourself? They all say that I look like you." "No, I'm not as beautiful as you." Lin Shay said, "That's not it. I've seen photos of you in the past. You're very beautiful." Suitsun leaned against the wall and pinched Lin Shay's cheek. "I'm telling the truth, Xiao Che. You're definitely prettier than me. You're luckier than me to have a husband who loves you so much." Unlike me, I've been through so many twists and turns. People say that happy people are even more beautiful. You're like that. Suitsun looked at her daughter. The more she thought about it, the more beautiful she became. This must have something to do with Gu Jingze's constant doting on her. How could a happy person not be beautiful? Lin Shay leaned against her and said, "Mom, you'll be very happy in the future." She patted Lin Shay and said, "Yes, enjoy your blessings." "That's not it. Uncle Han didn't come with you. With him around, I don't have to worry about you anymore." Suitsun smiled even more. Just then, they heard someone calling for Mr. Liu from outside. Suitsun stood up and smiled. She said, "He still remembers you, his daughter." Liu Qinyu walked in. Seeing that Suitsun was there, he looked a little uncomfortable. "Suitsun, you're here." Suitsun said, "Yes. How could I not come to my daughter's wedding?" Liu Qinyu's heart warmed. Their daughter. That was their daughter. However, just as he was about to walk over, he saw that Han Qingjin had arrived. He stood in front of Suitsun with a straight face. "Haha, old Liu, you're here too. How are you? Have you been feeling well recently?" Liu Qinyu looked at Han Qingjin and wanted to glare at him. He took 2 steps back. Han Qingjin wanted to shake his hand, but he quickly avoided it with a look of disdain. Han Qingjin harumphed and said, "Ha, what's the matter, old Liu? It's been so many years. Although Tsingtsin is my wife now, we're still old friends. You're already so old. Why are you still bothering about this? It's none of your business." Liu Qinyu rolled his eyes at him. Han Qingjin said, "Hey, was it because of this that you refused to sign the contract with our family, no matter what? It's a contract worth a few $100 million. Don't be so emotional." "Haha, I won't." Lin Shay looked at these old men who still acted like children hitting people. He couldn't help but shake his head. "Uncle Liu, Uncle Han, why don't you have some tea first?" When Han Qingjin heard Lin Shay's words, he seemed to have remembered something. He turned around and said, "Little Che, you're married. Your mother and I don't have much to give you. After all, Gu Jingze has everything and you don't lack anything. But no matter what, you're officially his daughter-in-law now that you've had your wedding. You've let everyone know that we still have to give you our dowry." What kind of dowry did Han Qingjin prepare for her? "It's okay, Uncle Han. I didn't prepare this for you. It's your mother. She married a daughter, and you're her only daughter. She has to prepare a dowry no matter what. This is for you." He took out a document and said, "I see that you've been setting up a game company recently. Our game company can be merged with yours, so this company can be your dowry. It's not worth much anyway." Chapter 1275. Isn't a company worth that much? Lin Che didn't dare to take it. However, Suitsun smiled from behind and said, "Little Che, just take it. We don't have a child, so who are we going to give these things to in the future? If I can help you a little, I'll help you a little. I can't help you much anyway, so this is all I can do." Lin Che didn't know what to say when he saw Suitsun's longing gaze, as though he would feel guilty if he rejected her. He could only clench the page of information Suitsun had given him. On the other side, Liu Qinyu was very unhappy. He glared at the two of them and thought to himself, "What dowry? What sincerity? What right does he have to have sincerity? What right does he have to give a dowry? That's the daughter of the Liu family. Liu Qingyu had also prepared some dowry. Seeing that he was unconvinced, he immediately walked over and said, "Little Che, Dad, Uncle Liu doesn't have much to give you. Did he give you a game company? I have a holiday village here. It's not big, and it's on a small island nearby. You can go and take a look. The main thing is that when you rest in the future, you can bring the kids there to play." But Lin Che said, "Uncle Liu, it's okay. What I need this for? I don't know how to manage." It's fine, it's fine. There are people in charge of it. Just put it under your name. But also, I'll give you this big hotel in B City. Take it. Don't look down on it. It's a little scattered, but I also think that you can have fun and rest wherever you go. This restaurant was added at the last minute. Lin Che took a look. She knew this restaurant. It was dozens of stories high. How much did one building cost? If he gave it to her directly, would she be able to afford it? Uncle Liu, No, you can't refuse. You can't take his things and not mine. You have to take it. So that's how it is. Lin Che thought to himself, how can two old kids compare this kind of thing? She stood there awkwardly. Suitsun smiled again from behind. All right, little Che, take it. This is a token of our appreciation as seniors. This kind gesture was too expensive. How could she dare to accept it? This is too valuable. Liu Qingyu said, how could that be? These are all dead. Just take them. Lin Che also looked at the few of them, feeling extremely depressed in his heart. Fortunately, Gu Jingze had already arrived at this moment. Seeing the three of them standing there, he said to Lin Che, Uncle Liu, Uncle Han, Mother, you're all here. Io, the bridegroom is here. Then we won't stay any longer. Han Qingjin spoke first. Liu Qingyu was still very angry. Why did this Han Qingjin always steal his words? However, Suitsun still quickly pushed the two of them out. She didn't want to be a third wheel here. Looking at Suitsun, the two men suddenly became much more obedient and hurried out. Seeing the three of them leave, Lin Che sat down speechlessly. He looked at the information in front of him and said, Heavens, I really have to give it to them. How old are they already? Yet they're still fighting with each other. They're even competing over a dowry. Gu Jingze picked it up and looked at it. He immediately understood. Coupled with Lin Che's words, Gu Jingze couldn't help but laugh and said, Forget it, just take it. After all, you're the pillar of our family now. Lin Che was even more amused. She looked at him and said, Aya, then am I supporting you now? That sounds about right. Lin Che really felt extremely proud. She could still support Gu Jingze. People will definitely be shocked to hear that I can actually support Gu Jingze like a big shot. Gu Jingze pressed his cheek against her cheek and kissed her. He looked at the resort and the restaurant at the side and said, Uncle Liu is very generous. These are estimated to be worth a few $100 million. The corner of Lin Che's mouth twitched. He wanted to cry, but had no tears. Gifts are worth hundreds of millions now. Yeah, your net worth is already very high now. It's just that you don't think so. Really? Of course, after your game was successfully developed, your net worth as a developer has been constantly increasing. This is how the business world is. Your experience, your past, and your achievements are all part of your net worth. So your net worth has also increased. It's not the same as before. Lin Che really hadn't thought about it. Wow, then I'm also famous in the business world. You've been famous ever since you took over the Gu family. Really? Of course. Do you think it's an easy role? However, your game development hasn't been announced yet. You're the developer. So many people know about this game and admire the developer behind it. But they just don't know that it's you. If they find out one day, they'll definitely start a chase after you. His words made Lin Che even more happy. He didn't expect her to be so capable. Gu Jingze smiled and pinched her. So, even if I retire in the future, with you taking care of me, I definitely won't starve to death. Sure. Just do your job well. I'll take care of the rest. Lin Che patted his chest proudly. Gu Jingze moved closer to her. Okay, I still need you to study with me when it comes to technology. That way, we can improve together. Saying this, he moved closer to her. Hey. No, what are you doing? We haven't had a wedding yet. You can't do this. The next day, more people were invited. Gu Jingming's arrival made the entire manor lively. Although Gu Jingze was no longer the head of the Gu family, he was still the president of Country C. There were a lot of presidents who traveled. Yu Minmin also came along and brought Mu Firen to the venue. Gu Jingyu also came after a while. Strangely, he actually brought someone over. That person was Su Wan. Lin Shay didn't have time to ask about his relationship with Su Wan. He just heard from Yu Minmin that they seemed to be getting closer recently. But Lin Shay was busy with the wedding, so he probably couldn't talk much with Gu Jingyu, so he didn't ask. When Black Eagle came, he also brought his sister's dowry, a group of Black Eagle soldiers. 20 people came, and all of them were top-notch experts. He said that he was giving them to Lin Shay to be his bodyguards as a token of appreciation as an older brother. Lin Shay accepted it, but felt a bit weird. Her dowry seemed to be a bit too much. When Black Eagle heard that Lu Qinyu also came, he didn't bother with him and returned to his residence, staying as far away from Lu Qinyu as possible. Lin Shay found it strange that Li Mingyu, who kept saying that he was going to give her a gift, hadn't come yet. Who knew where he went? After the guests checked in, everyone looked forward to the wedding even more. So many famous people came to attend. If it could be made public, this wedding would definitely be more shocking than the president's wedding. Chapter 1276. The Gu Family. None of the Gu family members were there. They had already left the Gu family. They didn't want to join in the fun. It was mainly because of their pride. Recently, the Gu family had been telling the public that Gu Jingze had betrayed the Gu family, so they wouldn't be so close to the traitor anymore. Moreover, they always arrogantly thought that the Gu family was the most powerful. Gu Jingze was nothing after he left the Gu family. After the Gu family announced Gu Jingze's betrayal, no one knew how many people would attend Gu Jingze's wedding. However, the Gu family soon received news that a lot of people were going to the wedding. It said that all the top 10 richest people will be there. Apart from them, the whole Lu family will be there. Gu Jingyu, Gu Jingming, Black Hawk, and Li Mingyu will also be there. Many rich businessmen from M Nation will also be there. A few families from a nation will be there too. Li Mingyu and Han Qinjian will be there too. After hearing the report, the Gu family was also annoyed. What are these people thinking? Do they still think that Gu Jingze is the head of the Gu family? Someone else said, "Don't you think about it? Lu Qinyu is going personally, and Black Hawk is going as well. These people are Lin Shay's family, so they will definitely support him. Other people will also go because they don't get to see them in the past. Not to mention, Li Mingyu is so arrogant. There are many people who hate him and like him. It's understandable that he will bring some people. Han Qinjian is quite close to Lin Shay too. Sigh. The people of the Gu clan thought so and felt even more helpless. These people would definitely go, and these people had absolute strength. They had forgotten how many of the people standing on Gu Jingze's side were people with extraordinary strength, people who could make people gasp in admiration. With them leading the way, other people would also want to go and support them no matter what. And the Gu family couldn't stop these people. The wedding hadn't started yet. Lin Shay was inside, getting dressed up by a few people. She was wearing a beautiful gown and looked very exquisite. Lin Shay was used to this kind of makeup. After all, she had to put on makeup every day on the set. But today, she was still a little nervous. She kept looking outside and asked Yu Minmin, "Are there a lot of people?" "It's all right, it's not a lot of people. It's just that those who are especially influential are all here." If someone were to throw a missile and blow up a room full of people, it feels like half of the world's wealth would be gone. Hearing this, Lin Shay became even more nervous. Yu Minmin laughed. "Silly, why are you so nervous? It's not your first time on stage." Lin Shay glared at her. "It's not the time for you to be nervous about your wedding." Yu Minmin's wedding could be said to be the wedding of the century. Yu Minmin was being filmed by so many cameras. How could he not be nervous? Yu Minmin said, "Just treat them as pieces of wood. That's still a valuable piece of wood." Lin Shay said, "I won't embarrass myself, will I? If I embarrass myself in front of these important people, that's really..." "All right, don't think too much. How can you embarrass yourself? Gu Jingze is here." But Lin Che still didn't know the steps of the wedding. Gu Jingze was a little mysterious and didn't reveal anything to her. She could only dress like this. She was a little confused and didn't know how the wedding was going to proceed, so she was especially afraid of making mistakes. Outside, the Gu family received the news very quickly. Before the wedding was held, the extravagance of the wedding had already spread in the circle. Gu Jingze booked the island and spent $30 million to rent the manor on the island for the guests to stay in. And the wedding that night was definitely the most secretive wedding. All the guests went through 4 checkpoints to enter, and all their weapons were left outside. The wedding was very large. Just the security alone, there were more than 300 people guarding the perimeter with heavy weapons. For the safety of the wedding, all the windows of the manor on the island were installed with bulletproof glass. It cost a lot of money. Of course, with so many important people going, any one of them was worth tens of billions. It would be a big problem if anything happened. Therefore, security was really the most important thing. Tens of thousands of roses were already in place, and the red wine produced in Missy Manor in 1975 was also taken to be drinks for the guests. Black Hawk had sent its own people to rob it to join in the fun. Otherwise, the red wine of that year in the manor would never be exported. The guests would definitely be satisfied after drinking it, because it wasn't something that could be bought with money alone. The gifts that the guests received weren't cheap either. They were all famous brand diamond ornaments specially designed by designers, with Lin Che and Gu Jingming's initials on them. Just these gifts alone had cost him another tens of millions. The Gu family was shocked as well. This wedding would cost more than $100 million. Gu Jingze was really generous for Lin Che. With such a grand wedding, it could be said to be the world's first wedding. They found it strange, too. Initially, they didn't pay much attention to the wedding. However, the wedding immediately became famous in the circle. Many people knew about it. They were all saying that Gu Jingze was really generous and that Gu Jingze was really capable. Ordinary people don't have the ability to organize such a grand wedding. Gu Jingze is indeed worthy of his reputation. That's right. These wines can't be bought with money. Didn't you see that there are no idle people on this island? All the tourists have been kicked out. Within 3 days, this island won't receive any tourists. Gu Jingze booked it. How much did he spend? Wang Yao asked. How much did he spend? That's right. The government can't afford to offend Gu Jingze. That's why they agreed. That's not the point. The point is, do you know how much the bride's clothes are worth? How much? I heard that it was specially designed outside. The entire pure diamond dress cost hundreds of millions. Oh, I'm going to see how much money Gu Jingze has. Why is he like a devil? I can't figure him out at all. Otherwise, how could he be the most mysterious tycoon? Don't you see how many people you can't even see in the past? They are all so close to Gu Jingze. TSK. It seems that even if Gu Jingze leaves the Gu family, he definitely won't lack anything. On the other hand, the Gu family has suffered a great loss. Look at Gu Jingze's capability. He's not someone the Gu family can control. Lin Che didn't know that there was such a grand wedding outside. Bride, you can come out now, someone said. Lin Che immediately stood up anxiously. Madam, please come with me. Mr. Gu said not to be nervous. He's waiting for you outside. Lin Che stood there and took a deep breath. At this moment, she saw that Lu Qinyu was standing outside unknowingly. Xiao Che, can I bring you out? He was wearing a suit. Although he was old, he was definitely a handsome old gentleman. Chapter 1277. Lin Che stood there and looked at him. Lu Qinyu was very careful, as if he was worried that she would reject him. He quickly said, although you don't admit that I'm your father, just treat me as your Uncle Lu. You're getting married today, so someone has to send you down the red carpet, right? Just think of me as an uncle who loves you dearly, okay? Lin Che shook her head, looked at him, and slowly reached out her hand. Lu Qinyu looked up gratefully when he saw it. His eyes were very touched. He pursed his lips, took her hand, and put it in the crook of his arm. Outside, the voices of the guests had already become noisy, and the soft music echoed. Lin Shaye was pulled onto the red carpet by him, but saw that there was no one on the opposite side. For a moment, she was a little surprised and looked around. Actually, it wasn't just her. The guests present were also very strange. They didn't know where the groom had gone. As she looked around, she suddenly heard the music change. A piece of high-pitched music came down, and then a few men suddenly flew out from the side. A few men dressed in white suddenly landed in the middle. As the music started, they began to dance in a neat manner. Hey, aren't these the boy bands that have become popular recently? A few blonde boys had become popular in America recently. They sang well, had good figures, and had a special feeling in their eyes. The United States was not popular with young and handsome boy bands. Most of them were old men's bands. The reason why this boy band could break through was because they were too handsome. Moreover, each and every one of them was brimming with talent. They were all 9 meters tall and looked very stylish when they wore clothes. At this moment, they were wearing white suits and dancing neatly, causing the women present to scream one after another. Obviously, they had forgotten that this was a wedding. Lin Shaye also exclaimed in surprise. He thought that was a very ordinary wedding, but it suddenly became so lively. It really surprised him. Oh, he invited such a famous boy group. No wonder he's Gujingza. Below, the boy band came down. After the dance, the music became much softer. In the middle, the male lead of the day, the groom, slowly came up and appeared in the middle of the boy band. Gujingza held the microphone in his hand, and his affectionate gaze intoxicated everyone present. However, his eyes were only staring at Lin Shaye, as if Lin Shaye was the only person in his eyes. Even though there were countless flowers at the scene and the fragrance was everywhere, the only one who could enter his heart was his bride. Ah, so handsome, Gujingza! Some of the women couldn't help but scream as they looked at the man in black, who looked like the emissary of darkness. He was so eye-catching. All of a sudden, it was as if the few handsome guys around them were overshadowed. If it was an ordinary groom, he wouldn't dare to invite such a popular and handsome man to the wedding and steal the limelight. However, this man was Gujingza, so there was nothing to be afraid of. He didn't need to say anything. Just by looking at the scene, he already understood that no one could be so glorious in front of him. He wasn't worried at all that others would steal his attention, because the moment he appeared, he would be the center of attention. Lin Shaye was speechless. He looked at him, so handsome, so confident. His captivating gaze made her want to cover her little heart. If she wasn't careful, it would start thumping as if it wouldn't listen to her. So handsome. Her bridegroom was so handsome. However, Gujingza was not done yet. He looked at Lin Shaye and walked forward calmly. He held a microphone in his hand and opened his mouth gently. A love song that no one had ever heard before came out of his mouth in an enchanting manner. You are my most beautiful bride. In order to marry you, I can forget the world. You are my deepest desire. Without you, my world is dim. I still remember when you appeared in front of me. Your brilliance makes me feel melancholy. I can't resist your temptation. I grow in your dreams. Loving you is my lifelong dream. Being able to marry you is my life's wish. When you become my bride, I just want to sing for you softly. I will always keep you in my heart. I love you and don't dare to let you feel sad. Marry me. Marry me. Be my most beautiful bride. Lin Shaye was even more speechless. She looked at Gujingza, who was walking over step by step. He reached out his hand and made an inviting gesture. Lin Shaye had no other thoughts. She could only reach out her hand and hold his. He lightly put her hand to his lips and kissed it. His deep gaze lingered in her eyes. Then, he put down the microphone and directly carried his bride. There was a lot of screaming at the scene. What did they see? Gujingza sang that, moreover, her singing was very nice. This song was too sweet. It was so sweet that people's hearts melted. And what was even more amazing was the way he sang. He looked even more handsome and affectionate. His full friendship was vividly displayed in his voice. Thinking that he sang this song for his bride, it seemed that he should have written it himself, instead of a song that was already on the market. It was even more touching. They were already envious of Lin Shaye for marrying Gujingza. Seeing Gujingza being so romantic, they felt even more envious. Being Gu Jing's bride was really too blissful. Lin Shay was carried and placed on the stage in front of them. Only then did the pastor walk over from behind and look at the two of them with a smile. "Groom, do you have anything to say to your bride now?" Gu Jingze held her hand. "I want to say, no matter sickness, poverty, hardship, worry, or sorrow, as long as you love me, I'm willing to be with you forever and take you as my wife. May I ask, are you willing to be my wife?" The pastor looked at Lin Shay with a smile. "Then, bride, do you have anything to say to your groom now?" Lin Shay was so excited that she felt her mouth trembling. She looked at Gu Jingze and took a deep breath before saying, "I promise you, I'm willing." The three words, "I'm willing," had expressed all of her strength and seemed to have used up all of her strength. The pastor smiled and said, "Then, on behalf of the Lord, I announce that the groom, Gu Jingze, and the bride, Lin Shay, are husband and wife under the witness of the Lord. I hope that you can live together until your hair turns white." He said, "Now, groom, you can kiss your bride." Hearing this, there were endless screams. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Shay with a smile. Ignoring the blush on her face, he hugged her and kissed her lips. Really, they had never kissed in front of so many people. She was really shy and didn't dare to look at the people below. Chapter 1278. And the people below felt that it was even more beautiful when they saw the couple kissing. Sometimes, nobles' weddings were too grand and boring, but their wedding was full of energy. The people below were no longer lifeless. Looking at the bride and groom above, they really had a kind of feeling of empathy. They were also very happy, because they looked so happy that everyone yearned for it. That kind of happiness came from the heart. It was definitely different from the past weddings that only cared about showing off. The music started. Gu Jingze held Lin Shay's hand. For the first dance of the night, he would hold his bride in his arms and complete it together. The dance floor was right in front of them. There was no one on it yet. Gu Jingze and Lin Shay stood in the center. He held her hand. The black and beige diamond gowns looked very matching. He looked at her and started to move along with the music. They started to dance. Lin Shay and Gu Jingze moved together with the music. It was as if they had returned to the life in a fairy tale. The prince and princess were dancing happily together. The people below were amazed. Gu Jingze was so handsome. There were even people who noticed Lin Shay's gown. It really looked like a shining angel, accompanied by multicolored lights, flashing. She was really beautiful. After that, the guests started to dance one after another, slowly filling up the dance floor. But with Gu Jingze and Lin Shay around, they didn't dare to get too close. They felt that they were too beautiful. No matter who stood there, they would immediately be compared to them. Before the song was over, she suddenly heard someone calling from outside. Someone sent a gift. At this moment, a beautiful crown was brought in. When someone saw the crown, he exclaimed in surprise, "Isn't this the crown that Princess Sophie used to wear? She wore this to the wedding." Then Li Mingyu walked in. He looked at Lin Shay and narrowed his eyes. His gaze was fixed on her beautiful figure. He was stunned. Then he walked in. "The wedding gift has just arrived." "I'm sorry." Lin Shay looked at Li Mingyu and then at the crown. "What are you doing?" It's for you. I think it matches your dress." Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes. "You're so generous. You spent a lot of money on this the year before last, didn't you?" "Of course, Lin Shay and I are so close. If I'm not generous to him, how could I be generous to you? To be honest, I wouldn't have come to your wedding because it's Lin Shay's wedding." Lin Shay rolled his eyes. This Li Mingyu really didn't think before speaking. He was so arrogant and provocative. However, Gu Jingze wasn't angry at all. He stopped Lin Shay and said, "All right, then I'll thank you on behalf of my wife." The people behind were watching this scene. Li Mingyu sure is generous to Lin Shay. I heard that it was auctioned for 300 million, and it had been kept in the museum for a long time. Since it's for the princess's wedding, of course it has a different meaning. Is Li Mingyu confessing that Lin Shay is as noble as the princess? Why are the people that Lin Shay knows so generous and treat him so well? Lin Shay looked at him speechlessly. Li Mingyu said, "Can I help you put on?" Lin Shay looked at Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze nodded his head silently. Lin Shay then looked at Li Mingyu and agreed. Li Mingyu smiled, picked up the crown carefully, and put on her. Lin Shay, "I wish you happiness," he said with a smile. "Thank you, Li Mingyu. Really, I think it suits you very well. In my heart, you're just like the princess, so beautiful and noble." Duh. Li Mingyu said, "It's my luck to know you. In the future, even if you marry him, you have to remember that you have me as your best friend. If he dares to bully you, I'll be the first to object." Gu Jingze said from behind, "What do you mean by even if? She's already married to me." This person didn't even look at the time and place to confess his love. Li Mingyu snorted. "What's wrong? In my eyes, it doesn't matter whose wife she is. What's important is that she's my friend, okay? Really, but that was what Li Mingyu really thought. No matter who she married, Lin Shay would always be the most important person in his heart. Gu Jingze even hugged Lin Shay. But when he saw the crown on her head and how beautiful she was, he thought about it and forgave Li Mingyu. Forget it. So be it. Anyway, she was going to be his wife, and he liked to see Lin Shay so beautiful. Everyone, the music is starting. Everyone can do whatever they want today. The wedding will last for 3 days. Everyone can have fun as they like. The MC said from behind, and a band started the music. The cheerful music turned the whole place into a huge party. The young people at the venue all got high. But when they saw that the people Gu Jingze invited were all famous stars in the world, they were here to sing for Gu Jingze's wedding. It made people sigh. Gu Jingze had really put in a lot of effort to gather so many people. It was as if they were attending an art festival. Apart from those big events, they had never seen these big stars gather together. Lin Shay thought that this wedding was great. There were no pretentious confessions or crying. Everyone was just happy together. She wrapped her arms around Gu Jingze's neck and looked at him. "It's so lively that you brought all these people here." Gu Jingze nodded. "Marrying you is something that makes me happy. I hope everyone will be happy and have a good, relaxing day. When they think about it in the future, this happiness will always remain in their hearts." Lin Shay smiled and nodded. She leaned against him and said, "Thank you, Gu Jingze. No, I gave it to you too late. It's been so long, and I've finally given you this wedding." "No, it's not late. Nothing is late when I'm with you." Anyway, they still had a lifetime ahead of them. How could it be considered too late? At this moment, Gu Shinian, who was dressed like a little gentleman, held his sister's hand and walked forward with Li Wei. Li Wei said, "Your mother didn't invite you to her wedding. She's spending time with her father. Forget it. I'll help them take care of the child today." "Sigh, but I'm very envious of you," Li Wei said. Gu Shinian said, "What are you envious of?" They said that they didn't even invite their parents to their weddings. "You came to your parents' wedding." Gu Shinian turned around speechlessly. "That's because everyone else was born after they got married." Gu Shinian pulled Shi Yuan over. When he saw Li Mingyu, he hurriedly said, "Uncle." Li Mingyu saw Li Wei. "What are you guys doing here? There are so many people. Be careful not to bump into each other." Ever since Li Wei started hanging out with Gu Shinian, he liked Li Wei more and more. Chapter 1279. Li Mingyu pulled Li Wei up. Gu Shinian said, "I saw Uncle looking lost, so I came over to take care of him." Li Mingyu was stunned. Then he smiled and pinched Gu Shinian's face. What a little adult. He saw it more clearly than anyone else. Li Mingyu said, "Ha, forget it. If you really care about me, let your mother marry me." "Ha, you're not as good as my father." Li Mingyu said, "Your father's net worth is not good enough. My father won't be suppressed by anyone." "Humph." Li Wei was puzzled. "Dad, what are you talking about?" Li Mingyu patted his son's head. "Don't go over there. I'll take you to a safer place." Li Mingyu thought bitterly that Lin Shay and Gu Jingze only cared about their romance. Why did he have to stay here to look after the child? On the other side, Yin Yun was pulled by Mu Firen. Looking at the people around her, she tried her best to avoid them. Unexpectedly, she bumped into someone. The band's music was too loud, and there were so many people here. It was a bit messy. Just then, Haing pulled Yun over. Yun looked up and cried out in surprise. "Uncle Amo, you're here." Haing pulled over the man who had just brushed past Mu Firen. The man was stunned. He wanted to scold someone, but when he turned around and saw that it was Haing, he immediately shut his mouth. Mu Firen was also stunned. She was a little worried that Haing would scold her. However, Haing just looked at him coldly, snorted, and let go of him. The man quickly said, I'm sorry, Mississippi." Then he left dejectedly. Mu Firen heaved a sigh of relief. Haing looked at her. "Yun is here. What are you afraid of? I won't cause trouble." With that, Haing pulled Yun up and walked forward with her in his arms. Mu Firen paused. Soon, she understood what he meant. He wouldn't cause trouble in front of the child. Haing naturally knew what it would be like to scold someone in front of the child. When Mu Firen came back to her senses, Haing had already left the noisy place with Yun. "Yin, where are you going? Put Yun down." The Black Eagle put down Yun, but Yun was still unwilling. She hugged Yun's thigh and said, No, Mommy. I want Uncle to hug me. Don't want Uncle to hug me? You. Mu Firen tugged at Yun. Yun, Mommy will take you to see Brother Yin, okay? No, I don't want Brother Yin. I want Uncle Amo. As Yun said this, her tears were already falling down her cheeks. Seeing this, Mu Firen had no choice but to stand there and carry Yun in her arms. Mummy, I don't want to go. I want Uncle Amo, Yun cried out. Yun, listen to me. No, I don't want to go. Mu Firen was infuriated, especially when she saw Haing standing there. She was so angry that she put the child down. All right, you can go with your Uncle Amo. Mu Firen turned around and left angrily. Yun really didn't want to follow them and hug Uncle Amo without letting go. Haing carried Yun and looked at the sobbing Yun. Yun, look, you made Mommy leave in anger. Yun said, but I want to be with Uncle. Uncle, can't you please pacify Mommy? Haing looked ahead and sighed. Okay, Uncle will take you to Mommy first. Uncle will pacify Mommy as soon as possible. Uncle promises Yun. Yun nodded vigorously. Mu Firen was already furious. After she left, she was so angry that she was about to cry. This Yun at this moment. A handkerchief was handed to her. She was stunned. She instinctively wanted to take it, but when she turned around, she saw that it was Haing. His handkerchief was navy blue and didn't have any patterns on it. She didn't expect Haing to carry a handkerchief. She felt that with the popularity of tissue paper, most people would carry tissue paper with them. People who used handkerchiefs were almost extinct. However, this seemingly careless man actually had a unique meticulousness in his heart. Haing said, Firen. Mu Firen snorted. You're so proud now. Yun is so obedient to you. She can't escape from your palm at all. Yes, you're awesome. Yun will follow you from now on. Okay. Firen, don't say that. Yun can't live without Mommy. No, I think she doesn't need me now. You've worked so hard to give birth to her. How could she not need you? Mu Firen's eyes were wet at the thought of it. It was really hard to give birth to Yun. But now Yun wanted Haing instead of her. Seeing that Mu Firen was secretly wiping her tears, Haing walked over and slowly held her in his arms. She leaned against Haing. For a moment, she felt that this smell made her want to cry even more. However, that after a while, she thought of something. She pushed Haing away. Why are you so close to me? Get out of my way. Haing said, You're the one who leaned over. I didn't. It's you. Mu Firen blushed. She snorted and turned to leave. Haing hurried to follow her. Firen, get out of my way. Don't follow me. Behind them, someone heard the quarrel and took a closer look. It turned out to be Haing and Mu Firen. However, this woman was quite daring. She actually hit and pushed the Black Hawk. It seemed that she did not hit him lightly. She hit him with all her strength. Haing was so tall, mighty, and terrifying that, however, what was surprising was that Haing did not have the slightest intention of avoiding her. He was not angry or depressed at all. His seemingly peaceful face was filled with love for her. Seeing this, people could not help but take a few more glances at this woman. To think that Hei Ying would have such a side to him. And it was in front of a woman. Hei Ying said, "You can hit me, scold me, and treat me however you want. But don't treat yourself like this." Mu Firen raised her head. Hei Ying said, "I can't bear to see you treat yourself so badly. I can't bear to see you cry like this." When Hei Ying said this, it was so easy to do it. Did outsiders never know that a grown man like him could say such sweet nothings? As Mu Firen thought of this, she actually felt a little relieved. He might have never shown this side of him to anyone. She felt that this feeling was very sweet. However, on second thought, she felt that something was wrong. She could not be deceived by him like this. Being deceived once was enough, wasn't it? "Humph, get out of my way." She turned back and stepped on his foot. "Hey, it hurts so much." Fine, you can hit me and scold me. I'm not afraid of pain. But look, Yinyin can't bear to leave me. I believe that you can't bear to leave me either." As Hei Ying spoke, he hugged her shoulders tightly and held her tightly in his arms. Chapter 1280. Don't. What are you doing, Imogenien? Who wouldn't bear to part with you? Mu Firen was speechless. How could this man be so shameless? Who wouldn't bear to part with him? However, she couldn't ignore the feelings in her heart. She knew that her heart would sometimes beat for him for no reason. Especially when she thought of all the things that had happened between the two of them. She could feel that if she lost him, it would be very difficult for her to meet another man like him in this lifetime. There wasn't a man like Black Eagle or Imogenien, a man who could shake the world outside, but was willing to cook and wash dishes for her at home. But was that true? Wasn't he making it up to her? Wasn't it because she was the mother of his child? She didn't know. She wasn't sure, so she didn't dare to. Black Eagle circled his arms around her and looked at her. "I know that you won't believe me no matter what. I don't know how to make you believe me either, so I just want to tell you. I'll prove it with time." His lips gently pressed against her forehead. Mu Firen couldn't help but close her eyes. She felt the warmth of his lips. Suwon didn't think that she would be able to attend Lin Che and Gu Jing's wedding. She looked at the romantic and warm wedding and felt envious. She envied Lin Che for being able to meet a man who treated her like this. Actually, some women didn't want a lot of money, and they didn't really care how much money was spent on the wedding. What was important was that they put their heart into it. She could see it. Gu Jing's effort in this wedding couldn't be explained by money. He really planned it, cared about it, and took it seriously. As for the money, who told Gu Jingza to be so rich? He probably wanted to spend money when he put his heart into it. Suwon originally didn't want to attend the wedding, but when Gu Jingyu came back, he saw that she was making soup and suddenly asked if she wanted to attend the wedding. Suwon looked at him in surprise and asked whose wedding it was. He said, "Lin Che and my second brother." Suwon looked at him in confusion and said, "Can I go and participate?" "I'll take you there." "Of course," he said. Suwon hesitated and asked then, "Why are you taking me there?" She also felt that she was asking too many questions, but Gu Jingyu was surprisingly patient. He looked at her and said, "I'll bring you to experience it." Of course, Suwon wanted to come. Just because it was Lin Che's wedding, she wanted to come and take a look. She had never attended a celebrity's wedding before. However, this wedding was very secretive. It was only when they arrived that they found out that no media knew about it. Only these rich people came. Suwon looked and suddenly saw a lot of popular singers and stars in the world. She was immediately fascinated by them. For the first time, he felt that attending a wedding was really fun. There were not so many complicated etiquettes. On the contrary, the etiquettes were so easy to pass, and the last part of the fun was so outstanding, which made people feel that it was really fun. Suddenly, there seemed to be someone behind him. She felt that Gu Jingyu had already leaned over and was rubbing against her body. She turned her head and almost bumped into his lips. She blushed the moment they brushed past each other. "What are you looking at? Look outside. These people are having so much fun. You can go and play too." "Me? I think I'll be out of place." "What's out of place about you?" Suwon turned her head. "I feel that I'm so lowly, so terrible, and a nobody, so—" Gu Jingyu frowned. "Are they bigwigs?" "That's right. They are bigwigs, aren't they?" Gu Jingyu said. "You're my woman now. You're much more important than them." Gu Jingyu picked her up. What? What are you doing? What? Come with me. Suwon was like a tempting little rabbit in bed. He felt that he was really addicted to her. So, after hearing that they were going to stay here for a few days, he actually brought her here for the first time. Was it because of his body's intoxication? Or was it because of her expression? In short, he enjoyed the feeling of hugging her on the bed. It made him feel as if he had the world in his hands. After being tormented, Suwon lay there. When she felt Gu Jingyu get up, he looked down at her. Can't you move anymore? Suwon closed her eyes. She just felt that her body was very soft. Then his strong arms wrapped around her and picked her up. She hurriedly wrapped her arms around his neck and looked at him. His determined side profile was a little cold, but he still carefully carried her into the bathroom. She blushed and watched him wash the most private part of her body. She felt her whole body heat up. Why? Why did he treat her so well? She was just a woman that he kept as a mistress. If he wanted to, there were countless women like her. She lowered her head, not wanting to feel too warm. But indeed, there had never been anyone in this world who treated her so carefully. Even the dead, she shook her head, not allowing herself to continue thinking about it. The wedding lasted for a few days. Many people treated it as a holiday or a party, having fun here. As for Lin Che, he stayed in a room with Gu Jingzi, not wanting to go out at all. When they woke up in the morning, Gu Jingzi said, "Mrs. Gu, it's time to get up." Lin Che narrowed his eyes and said, "So early." "Okay, then you can sleep a little longer, Mrs. Gu." He lowered his head and kissed her. "How could you still sleep?" She looked at him and said, "Why are you looking at me so early in the morning?" "I just wanted to wake you up." He smiled and stared at her. "Call me what?" "Call you Mrs. Gu." Lin Che's heart warmed. She smiled and hooked her arms around his neck. "Why do you call me Mrs. Gu?" "Well, although we've been together for so long, I really feel that I'm your husband today. You're my truest wife." "Because of the wedding?" "Yeah. Letting God witness that we're together is different from just getting a marriage certificate. Now, God knows that you're my wife. You can't run away from me for the rest of your life." He said it as if she could have run away from him before. Why would she run away when she had such a good husband? She hugged him and kissed his lips. "Hubby, you're the best." "How is it good?" "Everything is good. You're complimenting me so much. Are you thinking of doing something bad again?" "Of course not." "Aya, is this how you think of me?" "That's right. In my heart, you're a little vixen who does bad things." He pinched her nose. "You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.